For the pledge. Sal, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, those people that have been involved in the war against the Russians, the Ukrainians, and those that have passed due to the war. Also, in memory, who will be here tonight, is in memory of Julia Mousen, is the founders of Julia's Wings Foundation is here tonight as well, and may her memory be eternal. Thank you. Yep. So who do we have on the phone?
Chris Cosgrove.
Mary Jane.
Chris and Mary Jane. Yep.
And Mike Nahum's here.
And Mike Nahum. Okay.
Yep.
Next is public comment. Sal?
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Jeff McBride. Before public comment starts, as I am the parliamentarian here for the council, I am telling everybody to speak directly to the council. Sir, wait till I'm finished. Speak directly to the council, not directly to any council person. Address the council as a whole, not any individual. Treat people with respect. Otherwise, I will shut you down. The conduct I've seen here in public participation at council pales compared to what we used to have at the Board of Education, and it's going to be my goal to put back some of the rules and regulations that the Board of Ed follows, so do so with respect or you will be stopped. And if everybody understands that, we can move forward. Thanks, sir.
Mr. Jeff. Okay.
Commander?
Jeff McBride, 288 Kent Road. I hope that you don't think that we've been disrespectful when we've been speaking here, but just in case of myself, several veterans, and some town citizens attended the last town council meeting without speaking, waiting for the apology we requested of Councilwoman Lundgren. Instead, she addressed the council informing the members of her family's military history. We as veterans with our own family military service wish to thank her family for their service. Their service was honorable, and it goes without question that all the veterans honor them people. However, her statement did not address the demands we requested. Another gentleman followed her with the remarks that there was a misunderstanding by the veterans. There is no misunderstanding. On the 22 November 2021 recording of the council meeting will confirm our interpretation of her statement. The gentleman did not say that veterans should be offered opportunities for jobs. Over the past few months, several veterans have attended town council meetings expressing a desire to obtain an apology from Council Member Lundgren for the total disregard for the comments she made on 22 November 2021, requesting veterans' preference not be included in the job application for crisis social worker positions to be filled. And for her approval of Democrat campaign mailers, she authorized the chair of the Democratic Town Committee. These mailers insinuating that members of our community were involved in the attack on the nation's capital on 6 January 2021 and being followers of the Nazi Party are disgusting, to say the least. How can she sit her across from the room from Sal Singlewitz, whose family and her friends faced the atrocities of the Nazi SS soldiers in Poland during World War II, without even an apology to him, is despicable. Last council meeting, she spoke to the councilors referring to her relatives as veterans and their service to the country and her respect of veterans, but made no attempt to apologize to the town veterans for the townspeople for her actions. Mayor Bass himself requested an apology on behalf of the citizens from her for the campaign mailers approved by her and the DTC. The apology never came. We come before the council again tonight to request an apology and will return every meeting until it is rendered. There was no misunderstanding by the veterans in what was said by her. Members of our town here tonight, all of you folks and out there that are watching here tonight on live video feed and are waiting, remember, this was not a necessary thing to do. And just to show, this is the flyer with the Hitler insinuation salute. And the last page that I have here, if I can thumb it open. Come on, sheet. And this, I got it. All of it didn't end on January 6th. Trump extremists took over the new Milford GOP, and now they're taking over our town. Don't let radical extremists take over our town. Vote November 2nd, vote Democrat. Protect New Milford's future. And that was the second flyer that she put out. Okay, so that's, to me, as a veteran and a private citizen of this town, since 1964, that's an insult. So we're going to wait for an apology from Ms. Lundgren, no matter how long it takes. Thank you.
Thanks. Justin McCabe? This is Justin McCabe? I'm sorry.
Hello, I'm Justine McCabe. I live at 88 Cherneski Road. My husband, John Batista, and I live at the abutment of the Cherneski Road Bridge. I'm here just briefly to say, out of frustration and a lack of faith that the town council, the town, has shown in the repair of the bridge on Cherneski Road and the violations of the ordinance that have occurred, I just wanted to have this read into the minutes that we've sought the counsel of a land use attorney in Bridgeport, Joel Green, and this is a letter that he sent to the mayor and the town council today. And I would just like to pass it around to all of you, and again request that this be read into the minutes of what I'm saying. Thank you. So, how do I distribute this?
Here, I'll take it. I'll take it over here.
Thank you. Sal? Do you have anybody else?
Miss or Mr. Herder?
Oh, I think it's me, Angela Herder.
Okay, yes.
Hi, I live at 207 Long Mountain Road. So I'm here tonight in support of our scenic roads. They can't speak for themselves, so I'm going to try to explain to the town council and represent the people that are here tonight just how precious they really are. We live on these scenic roads because we want to. Sometimes it's not easy living on scenic roads, but I have a backstory that I would like to share with you. Please indulge me. I knew these scenic roads way back in the 1970s. My mom used to drive me to my friends, and she, in her station wagon with no front-wheel drive, she would take me to my friend's house. And driving on these scenic roads as a 10-year-old child, I was in awe. I could not believe there was such magic in nature. The trees, the woods, the canopies were spectacular. They were like scenes from Lord of the Rings. And I probably remember that because at that time, maybe I was reading The Lord of the Rings. I just have those memories in my mind, and this is over a half a century ago. So yesterday, as I walk out of my driveway, I have the pleasure of walking on a scenic road again. I am truly blessed. It fills my heart, it calms me down, and it is so precious that I am asking for those of you that have the responsibility to help us take care of such a precious thing we have in this town. Many towns around Connecticut and the Northeast have these roads. I tell you this because I have 3 grandchildren. They don't live in this part of the country. And when they get old enough, I'd like to bring them here and walk on those roads and have them experience the awe that I had when I was 10 and the awe that I get every day when I walk on those roads. We are stewards of this land and our roads. Please, please listen to us. Please accept responsibility, fix them, preserve them, nature them for future generations, because I am certain all of us in this room treasure them as much as I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lindsay Larson.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Larson. I'm representing the Housatonic Valley Association. So HVA's address is 150 Kent Road South, Cornwall Bridge. I just wanted to let the members of the council know that I'm here regarding agenda item 10C, HVA's request for the use of a small amount of ARPA funds, just over $3,000, to support Housatonic River Recreation Area initiatives. So I'll be here if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Robert Gambino.
Thank you. Good evening,
Mayor?
all of you. I'm Robert Gambino, tonight representing the Northville Residents Association. I live at 4 Old Mill Road, New Milford. Don't smile. The NRA, guys, the NRA has been in existence since 1988 in New Milford here. Whoa, what was that? And not many of you here, I think, were around at the time that we got established, why we got established, and what we do. But, you know, those were a long time ago. It's not my first rodeo tonight, so I'm here with a cruddy voice. I'm getting older, but I'm not giving up. I submitted a letter to you, Town Council, and the Mayor last week. I don't know if you all had a chance to read it. I hope you did. I'm not going to read it to you again tonight. The letter says it all, and I'll be very succinct. It says, essentially, the Town Council, the Mayor, and the Public Works Department are in violation of Scenic Road Ordinance 17A, Section E. You got that down, Randy? Okay. We're asking you very nicely to start the process over for the bridge replacement of Cherneski Road. There's been a lot of pussyfooting around. It's been 4 years, all sorts of things. You know, one person says something, somebody else says something, third guy, everybody's doing something different. But you never followed 17A parentheses E. It's all spelled out there. I'm asking you to follow that. Start the process from scratch tomorrow. That would be a good time. And do what's right for the scenic roads of this town. There are 27 of them. They're beautiful. That's what makes the town bucolic. I think it makes it one of the most beautiful towns in Connecticut. And if you want it to be the best town in Connecticut, you got to start thinking about the roads and some of the other things that go on in town. And I would like you to think about it also for your political future, because I think if you ignore this one, it's going to get bigger. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Adrienne Alricchio.
Thank you. Good evening, Adrienne Aricchio, 72 Cherneski Road. I have a couple of things I'd like to say. First, I'd like to thank the veterans for their service. I have a favorite uncle who passed away a few years ago. He was a paratrooper in World War II, went behind enemy lines on D-Day into Normandy, came home, never spoke about it again, horrific things he saw. My late father-in-law was a World War I veteran, survived, came home. My late aunt was a WAC. So a lot of service. I think everybody appreciates veterans in town. That being said, I'm here also for the Scenic Road ordinance and the Cherneski Road Bridge. And as Bob just said, you know, this has been going on for 4 years. We wrote a letter a few weeks ago, and I believe all of you received it, and it was signed by 37 people on Cherneski plus on Sawyer Hill. And I don't see it in the minutes, so I'd like to give this to you, so this could go in the minutes. Can I-
Yep.
It was, that was Mayor Bass, and he
Yep,
responded.
and it was sent to the town. It was sent to the town council.
Yeah, but I
as
didn't
well.
see it, so I just wanted to give you a copy. The other thing I'd like to ask about is, there are a number of violations of the scenic road ordinance, so without going into all of them, because Bob knows it better than me, the letter that was sent, or the email was sent on November 1, 2021, from Jack Healy, said that they would discuss it was a Zoom meeting, we were going to discuss the 2 landowners on the road who were going to be on the committee. But that was never done. And this meeting was basically not even held. So I'm told there are 2 members of the road who are on the committee. I don't even know who those are, because I live on the road and I was never asked to nominate anybody. So if there are 2, let us know who they are, and I think you should backtrack and ask everyone to do this properly. So that's the second thing. The third thing I'd just like to ask you about is that on January 19th, 2021, at the Municipal Roads Committee, and I have the minutes here, Jack Healy stated that $900,000 of the $6 million that I believe was bonded for road repair was designated for 2 bridges, the Tamarack Road Bridge and Cherneski Road. And most of the money will be going to the Cherneski Road Bridge. So even if Tamarack Road, I think the bids were pretty low for that because it's not a very big bridge. It's basically a round culvert replacement. So even if it's $200,000 or less, that leaves $700,000. So what happened to that money? And if you added that $700,000 to the $600,000 from the ARP funds that was approved a few weeks ago, that's $1,300,000. So where is this money? I'm just curious. Nobody has an answer, right? I mean, I know you don't have to answer me now, but that's my question. Where is the $700,000 that would be left over that was supposed to be designated for the Cherneski Road Bridge? So basically, there's one other thing I forgot. I know you all remember a few years ago when the previous mayor was in office and he was sued by a resident of the town for violating an ordinance. I believe it was the Waste Management Fund ordinance. And the person who sued him was the former Republican Town Committee chairman, who was very persistent. I was not involved in it. I just read about it in the papers. And he kept suing until he finally won. And he won because he said that the previous mayor, had not followed the ordinance, that he used money from the Waste Management Fund, which is governed by an ordinance of the town, to renovate Pettibone School so it could be turned into a community center, which it still is. So he sued and he won. And so, as Bob just said, you know, this shouldn't escalate to the point of a lawsuit, but it seems like it's heading in that direction. So thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin Silverman.
Hi all, my name is Martin Silverman, 9 Dairy Hill Road. I'm a micro farmer in New Milford, and I'm here to show my full support for the use of COVID relief funds towards our farmers, our farmland, and our educational opportunities. The barren shelves of our grocery stores are a clear and strong indication that we must support our farmers and assist them in cultivating crops for sale in our local stores. Aside from benefiting our farmers, local farm fresh produce has the benefit of no long-distance shipping, which contributes to both pollution and the usage of fossil fuels. Also, these funds would be very beneficial to our education sector. Let's give students something to be proud of. Watch a crop grow from the ground up. Putting the COVID relief funds towards the town farm opens up opportunities to our children who otherwise might never experience farming and might never fully grasp farm-to-table concepts. Not only does this help provide sustainability, it opens up opportunities to feed our underprivileged and our senior population. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin Russo.
Good evening. My name is Martin Russo. I live at 39 Mist Hill Drive. I'm a retired paramedic and also now strongly involved in helping farmers and lifestyle medicine through our choices. So I'm here in support of the Farmer and Farmland Assistance Program that's being proposed. So the statistics of our health and well-being of Americans are in, and they're not good. 1 out of 4 of us are going to have cancer. 1 out of 3 are diabetic, and about 750,000 of us are going to die from heart disease this year alone. And obesity is an epidemic that's completely out of control. We spend more of our money by far as a nation on healthcare, but yet we have the sickest population in the world. Why is this? And I'll tell you why, and it's very simple. It's the food. It's the food, the toxic food that this country is producing that we're buying and consuming. 80% of our chronic diseases that are killing us are treatable and reversible through our diet and through our lifestyle changes. This is not my opinion. This is not something that I've heard through conversation. It's not hearsay. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's founded on decades of science-based evidence, research and studies performed by hundreds, even thousands of scientists and doctors. It's a fact, and it's been proven for decades. It's also a fact that our current industrial agricultural system is producing toxic vegetables and fruits filled with pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, chemical fertilizers, and it's not sustainable, and it's not healthy for us to be eating. We're growing plants that are sick and weak, and in fact, in turn, that's making all of us sick and weak. It's not only destroying our health, but it's also destroying our planet's health. The good news is that we have a choice, and there's a simple solution to that. And we have the power and control to make this choice and really turn this around. And that is by supporting our local farmers, buying local, and buying organic and non-GMO products. By supporting our local farmers, who are committed to producing fresh, healthy, organic vegetables that are free from all these toxins. So we have the choice to 3 times a day what we eat, what we put in our mouths, and we have a choice of what we buy and feed our children. We have a choice to make the world a better place for all of us and for future generations. So I believe the time is now to really take this opportunity and support this program, because this is really, we have the opportunity here to really make a big difference. In New Milford, we have everything we need here. We have all the resources. We have plenty of land, plenty of farmland. We have the farmers that are willing. We just need to support them with the funds that they need to get this going. And this could really, really make a big difference to all of us, to our health, our children, and future generations, and our planet. So we really need to take control of this. I think if we come together and support this, it's really. Will really make a huge difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Russo. I also live at 39 Mist Hill Drive. I am a mother of 4. I'm a retired nurse and a retired emergency medical worker. Now I work as a functional nutrition and lifestyle medicine practitioner, and I want to talk to you about chronic disease. Alzheimer's, asthma, cancer, heart disease, arthritis, autoimmune diseases including rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, psoriasis, vitiligo, celiac disease, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, fibromyalgia, fatty liver, obesity, mental illnesses, including but not limited to anxiety, depression, ADD, ADHD, and autism, which I just am going to throw a statistic in here. In 1975, 1 in 5,000 children had an autism diagnosis. In 2018, that was increased to 1 in 36. By 2035, it will be a 1 in 3. How many of you experience bloating, gas, indigestion, brain fog on a regular basis? How many of you have are in touch with somebody who has, or yourself have, one of the diseases that I just previously listed off? How many of you think you eat healthy, but you still struggle with these issues? I want to talk to you about the root cause of every disease I just mentioned, and it's inflammation, and it stems 100% from our food chain. Because we are, on every level, cellularly all the way up, what we eat. So if we're eating toxic food, we become toxic. It's a matter of fact. I'm sure many of you have heard of the term leaky gut. I just want to talk about that for a half a second. Your gut lining actually starts in your nasal passages and it runs all the way through. It has the surface area of about 2 tennis courts. It's the biggest surface area that you have inside of you. It's a barrier system between what you breathe and what you eat. It's the home to your microbiome, which is about 5 pounds of bacteria that literally its only job is to keep you healthy. It houses over 70% of your immune system. It is the main connection and innervation point between your gut-brain axis. It is the most important structure we have in preventing acute and chronic illnesses. It's only about 50 microns thin, which is like if you take a piece of your hair out and you cut that hair in half, that's how thin this epithelial lining is that goes from your nasal passages all the way down. Now let's talk about one of the biggest culprits there are that's wrecking this lining that is literally integral and foundational and fundamental to health. And they're called GMOs and glyphosate, which is what most conventionally raised crops are made of or from. GMOs are genetically altered food that are manufactured either to withstand ridiculously high levels of weed killer, glyphosate, or they're manufactured to become an insecticide in and of themselves. Corn and soy are actually registered insecticides. The corn in your tortilla chips, in your tortillas, in your tacos, in the corn on the cob that you eat at barbecues, if it's not organic, it is an insecticide. Once it's eaten, it's manufactured to become an insecticide. Once it's eaten by an insect, a Bt toxin, it's the name of the toxin, gets released. This is what it's modified to do. And it gets released and it pops holes into the cellophane thin lining of your epithelial cells and it kills the insect. The thing is that these toxins are not able to distinguish between an insect's epithelial lining of their gut and yours. So in large quantities, when you eat them, it pops holes in your gut lining too. Glyphosate is the most commonly used weed killer on the market. You know it as Roundup. I'm sure most people, well, I hopefully not have it in their sheds, but generally, most people do. It's marketed by Monsanto. When glyphosate is put into a petri dish with human cells, it breaks them apart. So to recap, GMOs drill holes into your gut lining, and glyphosate rips them apart.
Ma'am, we have 30 seconds left.
Great. If kids are eating glyphosate-rich foods, they have leaky gut. It leads to every single disease that I mentioned when I started talking, especially autism. I have a 9-year-old who was diagnosed with autism when she was 3. During her kindergarten year, we were able to transition into an organic, non-GMO diet. And when we sat at her PPT at the end of the school year, my daughter was unable to have that label anymore because she tested out of it.
This is the healing power of food. The only way to prevent and reverse the only way to prevent eating food-like substances like this is to switch to an organic or sustainably grown or honestly grown whole food diet. No processed, no junk. Get it out of our school systems, get it out of your houses. It's crucial to the health of our country. You have a great proposal coming down the pike. I would be happy to sit and talk to any of you later about more specifics on this if you want any information. But this is about our future, and it needs to be supported because it's the only thing that will sustain and guarantee a healthy future for our families and for our children. Thank you.
Michael Ness.
Michael Ness, 480 Long Mountain Road. Thank you for your service as well. We all have military in our family. I am here for the preservation of scenic roads, rural roads, and keeping New Milford what it's intended to be, a small town. I was actually just reading today in the New Milford magazine where they described it as you go downtown, shopping is flourishing, all this wonderful stuff, and it still maintains its rural town. Well, that's slowly being eroded, one road at a time. How many people here want rural roads in this town? Right? It's what we're here for. It's why we live there. We chose to live there. I'm not going to go laws and stuff like that. I'm just going to try to appeal to your common sense that it's a small town. It's a farm town. Let's keep it that way. You still have the hub of the town. And as far as some of the stuff that's lines and stuff, you look around, so many of the roads that have lines on them, they're so worn out, you can't hardly see them. We can't maintain what we have, so why add more? Doesn't make sense as a business. We also have a ton of potholes. I would say use that money for potholes. I know you talk lawsuits. I had a car the other day swerved around over the line towards me to avoid a pothole. I would think that's more of a lawsuit than not having lines on your road. But I'm not an attorney. I guess that's about it, right? It's just, we're asking you to please leave us alone. Just keep it nice. Nice rural roads. And we enjoy coming to town. We get to see the lights and stores, but we like to go up in the woods where it's no artificial lighting. The sky is beautiful, and the air is good, and we love to walk in the woods and the roads. And that's what we're trying to maintain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Ann Ness.
Hi, Mary Ann Ness, 480 Long Mountain Road. Thank you for my family's freedom, number one. Thank you for all of, most of your respectful listening. We teach the kids in school to make eye contact and have your eyes on the speaker, so thank you very much for that. I won't repeat everything everybody else has said, but I agree with everything Angela said and everything Justine said, and I'm sorry I missed your name, Andrea, Bob. Scenic roads, scenic road ordinance, it is a priority, and I really feel as though it needs to be either looked at more energy spent on it. I don't know who the traffic authority is, those 3 people, but there's a hell of a lot more than 3 people in this room. I would like to know what their background is in making some decisions. I would like some proof, if it's respectfully requested, that we are following or how we are following the scenic road ordinance. And I would greatly appreciate more attention being paid to all of the scenic roads in town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Harvey.
Thank you. Andrew Harvey, excuse me, Andrew Harvey, 467 Long Mountain Road. New Milford, as we know, is a great place to bring up families, to work and to play, to eat and socialize, to hike, kayak, swim, ride, sled, to live. I want to take this opportunity to express my gratitude and that of my neighbours and fellow residents for New Milford's Scenic Road Preservation Ordinance, which is a key part of making New Milford so livable. I continue to be amazed by how many people in this town enjoy and benefit from these scenic roads. Not just those who live on them, but anyone who walks, drives, cycles, or rides on them. I thank those with the foresight to see the need for this ordinance, everyone who was involved in developing the concept and preparing the document. I thank all of the residents who pay attention to New Milford's history and scenic beauty and the fundamental role that scenic roads play in that. I also thank all of those who prepared the 2021 POCD, which further recognises the importance of New Milford's rural and scenic history. I thank Mayor Bass for supporting one of New Milford's greatest assets, its rural character and charm. And I thank everyone on this town council who recognises the real, long-term and irreplaceable value of New Milford's scenic roads as part of that rural character and charm and supports the preservation of them. Thank you.
I don't have more names.
See Joe Carantes here. Joe, can you talk a little bit about your process for farms?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I emailed council and you mayors quite a bit of information, but I thought I'd hand it out also so you can make sure you guys copy it. So I guess I'd like to open this with a quote.
Joe, your address, please.
87 Boardman Road, ma'am, is my mailing address. So I'd like to open this with a quote from what I thought was a great documentary, and the quote's from Woody Harrelson. Planet Earth, home to a growing number of Homo sapiens and a whole lot of other great creatures. It's a great place to live. When it comes to the future of our small planet, there's so much bad news, it's overwhelming. The fear that we're headed for a cliff puts most of us in the state of paralysis. The truth is, I've given up, and odds are so have you. But what if there was another path? This is a story of a simple solution, a way to heal our planet and keep humans off of the extinction list. In fact, the solution that I'm talking about is right under our feet, and it's as old as dirt. We call it soil, earth, or ground, and due to its vast scale and its ability to sequester immense quantities of greenhouse gases, it can be the one thing that balances our climate and replenishes our fresh water supplies and feeds the world. That's why so many people are racing to save our soil with the hopes that our soil will save us. So the intent of this proposal is to strengthen agricultural infrastructure, support the farming industry in New Milford, improve water quality and quantity, protect our environment, give rise to food grade and security, and support families and seniors in need and give them access to locally grown food sources. And I'd like to take a little time to talk about some of the aspects of this. Agriculture is considered an infrastructure. Agriculture is an important part of the local community in that it contributes to our food supply and provides economic as well as environmental impacts. For agricultural operations to function and to continue, they require support systems and facilities, infrastructure, to remain viable. The infrastructure in some cases can be specific to agriculture and in other cases used by the public as well. That infrastructure in the context of agriculture Infrastructure includes farms, farm markets, education, businesses that support the farm within a given area. For example, in a region that grows corn and field crops, the infrastructure would include the farm family, their employees, the equipment dealers in which sell that equipment, farm education resources, to just name a few. With the farm and without the farm and the farm family, there would be no need for employees of that farm. And I think what's important to highlight here is that what's before you is a regenerative agricultural model. And so regenerative agriculture is a conservation and rehabilitation approach to food and farming systems. It focuses on topsoil regeneration, increased biodiversity, improves the water cycle, enhances ecosystems, and supports biosequestration, increased resilience to climate change, and strengthens the health and vitality of the farm. So regenerative agriculture is not a specific practice in itself. Rather, it's a proponent of regenerative use of a variety of sustainable agricultural techniques in combination. And practices include recycling as much farm waste as possible, adding compost materials from sources outside of the farm. Regenerative agriculture on small farms and gardens often bases itself on philosophies like permaculture, agroecology, agroforestry, restoration ecology, keyline design, and holistic management. Large farms tend to be less philosophy-driven and often utilize no-till and reduced-till practices. As soil health improves, improved requirements and externalities decrease. The crop yield may increase as soils are more resistant against extreme weather and harbor fewer pests. So I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit and just mention the benefits of this regenerative model in the context of biosequestration. And for those of you that don't know what biosequestration is, it's essentially our Earth's filter, okay? It's the way the planet breathes, and in the process of that biosequestration, we capture an immense amount of greenhouse gases, okay? So it's what the planet's been doing all these years, and it's how we clean our air. And so over time with industrial agriculture, and I'm going to get off this, if you're following along, I'm going to get off this for a little bit here, but industrial agriculture is the leading #1 cause of global climate change. Okay, that's a fact. So before we look at smokestacks and tailpipes, we have to identify the fact that heavy tillage releases carbon dioxide. It disrupts the way that the planet is filtering our air, and if we continue to head down that path, we'll only see that our air quality is going to diminish. If we can support a more environmentally friendly way of farming, and we can make necessary changes, we could actually become carbon neutral, and then at some point start to look to become carbon negative and reduce this legacy load that we've put into the Earth's atmosphere over the last, so many years since the Industrial Revolution really began. We've been putting these hydrocarbons into the atmosphere. So I'd like to skip ahead, because if I don't, and I make this too long, Mr. Fay is going to kick me out of the room. And I'm going to go to page 6. If y'all would just turn to page 6 for me and get to the nitty-gritty here. So I'm requesting that the ARPA funds that have been passed down from the federal government, that we appropriate $150,000 of those funds. And I'm going to make the following recommendations. And I want you to understand that these are merely recommendations, that, they can certainly be discussed. But so #1, and I think what's important here to recognize is that I've sought out the Farmland and Forest Preservation's recommendation on this. I've spoken to, countless agencies throughout the state, and really kind of took all of their recommendations into consideration as far as what it is that we need to do, but also, how spending would work. So.
Next time, do you want to take a couple more minutes?
Come on.
Two more, Joe?
What's that?
Can you do 2 more?
Two more?
Yeah,
Can you sum up in a couple minutes?
Yeah, I sure could. All right, so #1, we'd create an ad hoc farming and farmland assistance committee. The committee would consist of a minimum of 1 town council member and 1 member of the existing Farmland and Forest Preservation Committee. So immediately following the creation of that committee, we would charter that new commission to develop an application process for administering the funds, developing areas of education, and ground-up programs. And if you don't know what a ground-up program is, that's a program that was developed by several of our higher education programs that it's like a loaner program, right? So farmers that don't use a potato harvester on a regular basis could lend that out in this program. Number 3, develop and fund educational programs that will be made available to existing farmers, new potential farmers, students, youth, and members of the community. Number 4, utilize the town farm, Sullivan Farm, to showcase these agricultural models. Also utilize the town farm to host educational classes and activities. Number 5, organize farm demo days of new modern methods of farming and equipment. This was a suggestion of the Farmland and Forest Preservation Committee. Follow all existing processes and procedures as far as our expenditures are concerned. Newly created committee will present applications to the town council for final approval before exhausting any funds. Number 7 would be to allocate 10% of these funds to be used for educational purposes. Number 8 would be allocate 70% of the funds to be used for farmers for support. And then number 9 was a suggestion of several of the farmers in the community, as well as the farmland and forest preservation. You know, food insecurity was a really big topic, I think, amongst everybody. So number 9 is to allocate 20% of the funds to be provided so that we can develop our own local voucher system for low-income families as well as seniors to be used. Is that my time clock? Okay. I'll finish up. That will provide families in need access to quality local food products. Social Services currently utilizes the SNAP Green Coin, and the Senior Center has access to senior farm market nutrition programs. These benefit, basically they're being taken advantage of at our farmers market from the hours of 9 and 11 on Saturday. And if we can allocate some money here, we would be able to provide our families in need and our seniors through this program access to nutrient-dense, chemically-free, non-GMO food all throughout the week. They can go to any one of our farms and use that anytime. Explore and provide better nutrient-dense food to our children in the New Milford school systems. That could be something that our newly created committee can discuss with the Board of Ed to try to get better food into the school system. Not saying that their food isn't great, but if we can somehow get our own locally sustainable food products in our school, that would be wonderful. And then number 11 would be to create a stewardship of the land group, bringing farmers, chefs, and food suppliers together in an effort to create a strong economy from within our community. This could also include our economic development team or system. And so I think it's important to note that this isn't something that is going to be specific to just regenerative agriculture, right? So that was a big concern. I think you guys have probably got a copy of this letter from the Farmland and Forest Preservation Committee that ultimately gave its support by saying the committee is very supportive of the use of the available funds to assist our farmers and would urge the council to set aside these funds for these purposes, okay? And they had some recommendations in here, and one of those recommendations is that we don't say, all right, well, only people that are farming regeneratively are going to have access to this money. And I want to make it very clear that this proposal does not do that. So these funds would be available to any farmer in the community. And then last but not least, how did I get to this, right? Well, I think we've all experienced through COVID the fact that we've had severe food shortages. And now we're in a position that not only do we have food shortages, but the food that we're making available to our community is very expensive, right? And it's almost out of reach for some people. And so the concept here is with 64 square miles of farmland and having this agricultural background in our town, I honestly feel like we're in a position where we can provide sustainability and we can provide food resilience in town. And that's something that we can significantly offset the 95% importation rate of all this food that we get from God knows where.
Joe, can you wrap it up?
I can.
We're over time.
Yep, I can. So one of the biggest reasons why I came before you with this presentation was I followed the ARPA funds, Mayor, and I want to say good job. I went back through the minutes and pulled out some key points. I think he did a good job of explaining to the community like what these funds are for, how they should be used, and I put them in here so that I can just kind of show a little bit how I thought this really fit well into the ARPA funds. And I'll just read the highlighted parts. And you read them? Okay, so I'll skip that. So anyway. Come on, Joe. All right, so anyway, listen, thank you for the time. Thank you for the opportunity. I can't.
No. Excuse me.
He's asking for our
Ma'am, excuse me, I'm the parliamentarian, there's no public comment unless you're standing there. One more and you can leave.
All right, so anyway.
I'll leave. I'll tell you what, this man's up here fighting for these farmers. That's what they're doing. That's what you know what? Look, that's great. Well, he's fighting for you.
I'm not asking for
anything. Fighting for you.
Parliamentarian.
Al, absolutely. If you can't respectfully be here.
Okay, let's everybody
Joe.
Let's everybody calm down.
Okay, so I'll just end with thank you for the opportunity to present this, and I really hope that you guys will give this some strong consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's one more person who wants to speak.
And anybody that would like a copy of it?
Do you want to speak?
Yeah.
Sal, we have anything else?
If you don't mind, I'm gonna stay over here. Signed up? No.
You got it?
No, you can't. You'll have to be up there. You have to give your name and address at the podium.
I've come to like traffic meetings and all the other public meetings where I speak from here.
This is town council. It's a little different.
All right. I just have a brief announcement. I'm Healthcare Organics, Alexa Larson. I don't disclose my address because I work with mobile disabled people on ADL skills. So I'm in their residences a lot, and I'm a mobile office.
If you cannot give a business address at the least, you're not going to be allowed to speak. It's right there in the rules. I don't know what's
Where?
tonight. It's in our full rules. Either give the address. It's one of our requirements by council.
Okay, 36. I'm gonna say 36 Main. That's it. I don't know. I'm not obligated to disclose an address by any means. But anyway, I'm Healthcare Organics, and I just sent out my annual report to Pete Bass. He has it, and also Joe. He was and Kleppen from Farmland Forestry, which I attended. And I was looking at the grants. I have the list of all the grants that go out, and I have an application for the Sustainability Fund, which I also do sustainability research, and I'm not committing to that address, but anyway. I just wanted to know, with most towns, there's a deadline for capital funds and grants, and I didn't see a deadline for the Sustainability Fund application, and that was the only one I got to today. So I wanted to ask the council if there was a link with all the, like USDA has every grant available with links, on the website for each grant that's available, and there's many of them. And I've noticed there's like all these different funds under ARPA, like a housing fund, education funds, this sustainability fund. I didn't see one deadline, but I haven't checked all of them. So I'm here tonight about the grants. I noticed that was one of your topics. That's not public participation. I am a farmer too. I have a vendor's license, and I specialize in urban organics for therapeutic gardening and educational gardening. And I plan to set up eco gardens, and I'm looking at Pettibone and some of the other local places that have a little bit more land. Anything is considered a farm, even an acre. So I want to keep it brief because I know, I'm not staying for the whole 3 hours, but is there a deadline for the grants? And is there a link on the website?
You can put a call in the mayor's office, no question and answer. We don't respond back to any public comment here. So put a call in and we'll get you those answers.
You want me,
We're not, we don't respond to.
What's your name?
Joseph Falla, F-A-I-L-L-A.
F-I-L?
F-A-I-L-L-A.
F-A-I-L-L-A. Okay, well, you know, I thought that I would get this done much faster if I just came here and got the answer for a deadline, but if,
not
you know, I
question
didn't see
and
anything on the website, so maybe it's rolling. You could also say rolling applications. You won't answer that.
It's not question and answer.
Well, I don't think you know. Just pretend it. Intimidating people.
Okay. Sal, do we have anybody else?
Nobody else, hopefully. No, nobody else.
Anybody else like to address the council? Okay. Katie?
First of all, council members, I'd like to suspend the rules to add item 10.
Pause, please. Please.
Item 10D, it's just an amendment, a name to be added. It's the B.
Katie, I can't hear, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's one more thing. There's also been problems with adult entertainment.
You're done. You're done, go.
You're done, ma'am.
I may be aware of that, but I've already sent a message to keep asking the traffic.
Mayor Pete Best.
Hey, Katie, I couldn't hear what you were saying.
I have no idea.
So I just
Whatever,
wanted to
we'll
say
help
that everything, right, you know that, right? Okay. Okay.
I cannot even compare to you. Please. I don't see which one it is. Just let me know. But stick with it. You bet.
That's what I was thinking.
Did you guys want to take like a 5-minute break?
No.
Okay.
I'm fine. I just, as soon as it quiets
I
down.
think Tough Craft is out. Huh? I think the Tough Craft.
Oh, I didn't want to yell.
The Tough Craft.
Oh, that was the,
Okay, is everybody settled in? Okay, so, council members, if you can hear me on the phone, I'd ask to suspend the rules to add item 10D, which if you look at your agenda, you'll see that's the BC temporary committee. First of all, there's a clerical error. The end of the committee is not October, it's August 27th, 2022. And also to add an additional name for someone who's been appointed to this committee, which if you'd like, it's Ann Stone. But I just wanted to suspend the rules to add that. If I make that motion, would somebody second it so we can put it on the agenda?
Okay.
Thank
Any
you, Sal.
discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you. Okay, item number 3, move to accept consent agenda items 3A, and, which is the prior minutes, and 3B, which is the tax collector. I'm going to do the next one separately, it's too many.
Do I have this? Yes.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay.
And then,
Okay. There were some changes made to the previous meeting so that when we have in the minutes, that we approve the minutes, prior minutes, approval of the town council. How is one made aware of any changes or corrections to the minutes? What's the sequence of that? So if someone's looking at it, how can they follow what changes were made?
They have to go to the next meeting minutes and they're in there. So if you make a change tonight, for instance, it would be in tonight's minutes, which will be filed within
Okay,
7 days.
and also on the website, are the corrected minutes will be on the website?
No, the correction is made in the following minutes, and that's put on the website.
So are you asking about the corrections that were made on the 14th, Alex?
Yeah, the January 24 minutes had corrections to it, and then.
And it should be listed in the February
should be in this,
14th.
it'd be in this one here.
Right. Is it?
No. So that's, and I didn't bring it all with me, but it jumped out at me.
We believe you. If you didn't see it, it means
If there
it's
were
not there.
corrections made, they're in here.
I just want to make sure someone can follow the correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the corrections made, they're in here. I don't, this would be,
Don't they generally make it into the next set of minutes?
Yes,
Yes,
that's what we're
that's when
looking
they're
at.
done.
It
Yeah.
wasn't there. So we'll have to check with the clerk. And
Can you highlight, when you get a chance, if
there
there's
is a correction.
anything that's not in here, so we can let Stephanie know, make sure that it's in
Yeah,
these minutes?
there is a correction. It's on page 3 of 11. Ms. Ram said on page 12, finance update, she was asking how the town was in receipt of the ARPA money. The town did not experience a loss year over year. That was the correction
I
made.
still have a little amendment to that. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the fix of the fix isn't, so it's still substantially or substantively not what I said. So I just want to, for the record, say that what I had said was, and I wrote, this is in writing, the first time I wrote you, which was on February 4th, so this is in an email to the mayor. What I said is, Ms. Ram asked, please correct this, what I said is, Ms. Ram asked if there must be a revenue loss to justify using ARPA funds for capital improvements. That was the question. Okay? And I can resend the email to you if you
You
want.
sent it to me?
I had sent it to everybody
Yeah.
on February 4th, but I can resend it for this correction.
And then one more thing. On page 411, when we're addressing at the bottom of the page, the motion to opt out, I believe to have the motion pass, it had to be 6-3, which means the motion failed. Would that be correct?
That was after the fact, though. That came up after the fact.
So there are two motions there that, in order to pass, needed to be 6-3.
2/3.
Right. And it really was only 5-3, so the motion failed.
Right, but I didn't know that until after the fact. So when I filed these minutes, that was what I was told was that it passed. So it has to.
Okay.
And one last correction, which was during the discussion of the ADUs, I believe that Alex had said, would you commit to, this is to Mr. Taylor?
Yeah.
Would you commit to going back to what they had put on the table, what the committee was potentially going forward with, and he said he had committed. So that's not in the minutes.
Who said that?
Mr. Taylor.
Mr.
When he was
Taylor.
presenting.
Oh, okay.
And I asked him.
Back to the changes that the committee, that the zoning committee was prepared to have a public hearing on. When the law came before them, they withdrew that. But he at this meeting said he committed to going back to that, or putting it forward to a public hearing.
I'd like to entertain for the council.
Your Honor, can I ask a question on that? I wasn't, pardon me.
We
Mr.
are
Ram, I
still
wasn't
in the
at that
middle
meeting. In other words, they had a public hearing that he canceled?
They had a public hearing, and this was on the agenda, and then he pulled it on the day of the public hearing.
Right.
On the opt-out provision?
No.
Yes.
No. On their own revisions to ADUs that they were in agreement on, the committee. Then he learned of the ADU law coming from Hartford.
Right.
He pulled that from the agenda item, meaning their own changes. So when we
Zoning, Randy, not council.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, zoning.
Thank you.
Not town council.
You're talking about the zoning committee.
The zoning
He thinks
committee.
you're talking about us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, that made me feel better.
Could have gone on longer, but, you know.
Thought you
Okay.
missed a meeting?
So we had a motion and a second,
It's
and
okay,
we've
I'd like to, if I
done
could for a
those?
minute.
Oh, okay.
Defer to
you
either a
wanna bring-
parliamentarian or a town attorney. Maybe we defer approving these minutes and then come back with these changes to do it the correct way.
Right.
Yeah, I would, there's confusion here. And I think it needs to be better articulated.
Okay.
Of course, I would defer to the parliamentarian on the procedural issue.
Yeah.
I'm confused anyway. You guys might not be confused.
Yeah, no, it's very easy to table it so that we get it correct.
agreed, yeah, there's a video, yeah, we could just.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Everything's
yeah,
there.
it's
I
all
withdraw
there.
Just because I'm confused doesn't mean
the
everybody
motion.
Someone withdraw who's
Alice,
this?
will you withdraw your second?
Alex is, yeah.
Alice,
I'll
withdraw your
withdraw the
second.
second.
So we'll table this till next meeting.
Okay. All right, and the tax, let's see, then I'll move to approve item 3B, the tax collector.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Aye. Thank you.
I forgot you there, okay. Move to approve exception of 3C, This is from the Parks and Rec, and because we want to give attribution to these very generous people, I will just quickly read them down. This is to request, they're requesting the permission to accept the following: $75 from Asphalt Repair Solutions, $75 from Candlewood Valley Pediatrics, $75 from Stop and Shop, $100 from Maiello Roofing Company, $75 from Candlewood Valley Motors, $75 from Tom Beecher of Collins Hannafin Attorneys at Law, $100 from Nuntech Aerospace, $75 from Kramer and Anderson LLP, $75 from Jaron Nursing, $75 from Gentile Tree Care, $75 from Stone Construction Company, and $200 from DeLeo and Company. These donations are made to be applied to the Easter egg hunt, which the youth agency does, and they would, Parks and Rec, and they would like to thank all of these donors very much for their generosity.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
With appreciation, right? With appreciation.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item number 4, the Youth Agency, do we have you here? Here she is.
Yes, we do.
Okay, the leadership representatives.
Hi everyone, I'm
Hello.
Kathy Jackson. I'm the youth advocate at the New Milford Youth Agency, and I'm here with a member of our leadership team.
Hello, my name is Sarah Marcos, and I'm 17 years old, and I'm a student at New Milford High School.
Thank you for coming tonight, Sarah. We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for having me. On behalf of the Youth Agency leadership team, we would like to inform you about a youth gambling problem. Approximately 4 through 5% of the youth ages 12 through 17 meet one or more criteria of having a gambling problem. Another 10 through 14% are at risk of developing an addiction, which means that they already show signs of losing control over their gambling behavior. While the vast majority of players will gamble only on occasions and just for fun, others will gamble excessively and develop serious problems. Those players become preoccupied with gambling activities, become over-involved, neglecting their responsibilities in other activities, which can lead to various other problems. In general, between 60 through 80% of high school students report having gambled for money during the past year. 4 through 6% of these students are considered pathological gamblers, addicted to gambling, while others 6 through 8% are at risk of developing a serious gambling problem or show signs of loss of control. Boys are more likely than girls to gamble and experience gambling problems. Yet for most parents and teens, gambling is seen as an innocent behavior with few negative consequences. The Youth Agency created a gambling PSA along with the Western Connecticut Coalition, and it will be showcased on March 23rd during a youth in gambling event. Also, I would like to mention that the Youth Agency, along with the New Milford Police Department, the Center for Empowerment and Education, and Western Connecticut Coalition are working together to present free workshops on internet safety and vaping and its effects on youth. Our events are called Keeping Safe Online, which will be on Monday, March 21st from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Max. It is open to parents or guardians and teens for separate discussions. We also will host a New Milford parent conversation, vaping and its effects on youth, which will be on Tuesday, March 22nd from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Max. You can register for both events at myyouth.agency.com. If there are any questions, please reach out to the New Milford Youth Agency. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Put the first one on there. Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great job, Sarah.
Well
Excellent.
done. How does the community find out about your program coming up?
Yep, we like to send out like emails. Kathy.
We're also very active on social media. So if you register at the, you can go to our website, you can register. We send out email blasts to all the families as well as, like I said, social media.
Great, good. We need to help promote it. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
In the
Thank you,
interest
Sarah.
of not keeping some of our guests here waiting, I'd like to move forward to item 7, the proclamation for Julia's Wings.
That's okay with the council?
You don't mind, do you?
For those, when you come outside tonight, you'll see all the red lights that are on the lamp posts that are, and on the bandstand, and that again, as we do every year, signify wearing red for starting next month, which is tomorrow.
Yes.
In the week, and it's for aplastia anemia. And we do this each and every year. First of all, thank you for creating this awareness. And again, our heart goes out for the loss of Julia. Whereas aplastic anemia is a rare and serious disease where a person's bone marrow fails to make enough blood cells. And whereas aplastic anemia can appear at any age, in any race or gender, with between 600 and 900 people in the United States being diagnosed each year. Whereas many people who have aplastic anemia can successfully be treated with prompt care with blood and marrow stem cell transplants, offering a cure for some people with the disease. And whereas individuals with aplastic anemia often require specialized medical and support services to ensure their health and safety and to support families' resilience as they manage their financial burdens that aplastic anemia can present. And whereas the Julius Wings Foundation, formed in honor of local resident Julia Malson, is now celebrating 9 years of service to families affected by aplastic anemia, and dedicated to providing funding for research, is spearheading an awareness effort called Operation Wear Red, in order to educate parents, families, professionals, and the general public about aplastic anemia and its effects. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Pete Bass, Mayor, on behalf of the town of New Milford, to hereby proclaim March 1st through March 6th, 2022, as aplastic anemia Wear Week.
Thank you.
So thank you for all you guys have done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, move back up to item number 5. I'd like to move to approve the following appointments. The first is the Sports Complex Feasibility. It's a temporary committee. We have Amy Lee Grinder and Christopher DeCaro. Terms to be February 28th, 2022 to July 31st, 2022. For the Film Commission, move to appoint Aaron Shaughnessy from 2/28/2022 to January 31st, 2026.
Second,
Any discussion?
can I let you know I'm interested in being part of the sports complex group?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
For next time.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Item number 6, update from Dr. Levin.
Doctor?
Mayor, Council, always a great pleasure to hear from and to listen to the veterans who I admire, and thank you for your service. Mayor, it's a brief and positive presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions afterwards. Although deaths continue to rise significantly around the world, it's now surpassing close to 30 million people. Here in the United States, the death rate is dropping. You know, in the report you'll see that the infection rate has dropped dramatically. So I think we have the first signs of significant progress. And that progress is not just because a lot of people have been infected, it's because the vaccines have taken a significant toll. If you look at the report, you'll see that we have a very, very substantial number of people who've been vaccinated. All tribute to also what the activities of the council in protecting the town from that and the activities that you took. So for me, for the first time in 18 months, I'm feeling that we see a real light at the end of the tunnel. So I think we should feel good about that. Things to pay attention on. Unfortunately, today, I sent you a little earlier on a report after I'd written my report. Pfizer announced that its vaccine had failed against the 5 to 11-year-olds. It doesn't, I would urge one, if you care to circulate that, I think don't be distressed by that. That, I believe, is probably due to a dosage. They reduced the dosage significantly, whereas the adolescents 11 upwards have a great response, but they got the adult dose. They really dramatically dropped it for the little guys. And I think what you'll see is that it'll be a bit of a delay. It will come back and it will be effective. There's zero reason why it shouldn't. It's just too low a dose. Second point, which I think we should just keep in mind, a lot of you may have read in the press about new variants. You will get lots of reports about new variants. Around the rest of the world, vaccination is not taking hold in certain countries, particularly those countries where there's a very high level of people with HIV/AIDS. Those countries essentially have people who have the ability to harbor the COVID virus, where it multiplies inside their body and mutates. So looking into the future, we should expect that there are repeated variants coming out of these areas as they mutate. We just hope that they aren't bad. The current press is talking a lot about a variant called BA2, capital B, capital A2. It's very infectious, 30% more infectious than Omicron. And certainly we're seeing a lot. It's taking over everywhere, just as Omicron took over in the United States. So we're going to see it. The first variant, BA1, took over. You're now going to see BA2 take over, and it will become the prominent one in this country. In Denmark, it happened like this in a flash. But the good news is there, just as is here, people who were vaccinated appear not to be having any major symptoms. It is overwhelmingly those who are not vaccinated who are being affected. So this is all good news. It means that vaccines will evolve as these variants evolve. And then lastly, I do think I've had a lot of questions about will there be another shot? The answer is, as much as you hear from Washington CDC, I would bet my dollars that we will all be having another shot very shortly. And that's going to be the recommendation. But in the meantime, we see some good moves, sensible moves around masks, around social distancing. And I hope that as we start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, we get into a rhythm of sensible behavior where, just think about be social distancing and being cautious, as we always have. But I do predict that there will be a fourth, and then a fifth, and then a sixth. So it'll become a flu shot. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you wish.
Doctor. Any questions for Dr. Levin? Anybody on the phone, any questions for Dr. Levin?
Nope. Thank you as usual, Dr. Levin.
Great pleasure. And
thank you, Doctor.
The less questions means we're getting to the other end of this. I'm going to make myself obsolete with a bit of luck. No. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Doctor.
you.
Thank you.
We did number 7. Mayor, did you want to add any more comments at this point?
Quickly,
Later?
if I can.
Yeah, go right
Or
ahead.
actually, you know what? I'll do it later for time, because
Okay.
people are here.
Good, so we'll move on to item 8, which should be Public Works. Do I see Mr. Healy update for us on Cherneski Bridge?
Hey there. And veterans, thank you for your service. So, anyway, tonight, I believe, talking with the mayor, you had requested an update on the Cherneski Bridge. There's been quite a few phone calls and meetings held on the bridge since the last time we met. I think I'll go straight to the dollars. After talking with Army Corps of Engineers and the Department of Environmental Protection, Energy and Environmental Protection, we've come down to probably right now 4 different options for the bridge. And they depend on what the town council and the town decides as far as grant applications. Number 1, a single lane box culvert, single box culvert. Up to now, we've talked about double box culverts. There's been a change in the general permits and discussions with Army Corps of Engineer. Originally, the Army Corps and DEP had expressed reluctance, but some acceptance of a double box culvert. At this point, the last conversation I had with DEP, they were still in acceptance, but Army Corps is not. So we've taken that off of the plate. So we're down to 4 options. Single lane box culvert, removal and construction is $940,000. A single lane bridge, that's a poured bridge, where you put the forms in and you form the bridge, is $1.43 million.
Jack, can I just ask, so the first option, number 1, was a single lane bridge?
With a box culvert, yes.
Okay, so now we have a single lane poured.
Poured bridge, you put the forms
Got
in,
it, right,
traditional.
okay, and what was the cost there?
$1,430,000.
Okay.
That includes engineering and inspection services. A double lane box culvert is $1,110,000. A double lane poured bridge is $1,660,000. Now, these are the best estimates as of today.
Can you bet, what's that, 1 million, say it again, the last one? Thank you, appreciate it.
So that was 4 options you gave us, right?
That's 4 options, and the reason I do that is some of it depends on what the town decides to do as far as grant applications. Now, those prices are best estimates as of today. I will say that currently, as I talk to different engineering firms, estimates are sometimes being missed by as much as 30% because of the increase in material costs, which are going up very rapidly. But we did put escalation in here. We had several conversations. These numbers were updated today after our conversations, and we put different amounts of contingency in each one. There's also some question regarding geologic. We based it on putting certain piles in. If our borings do indicate we may have to put micro piles in, the price may go up. We don't think so, but that's where we are. I want to make sure that's caveats in there.
I just had one question about the box culvert. Is it a 3-sided or a 4-sided when you say a box culvert?
These are 3-sided box culverts.
3-sided, thank you.
And Jack, just quickly, not that it's got bearing on anything in particular, but I'm just curious, are they all able to be constructed, put in place in the same time frame from start to finish whenever start is?
The box culvert's normally faster.
Because the poured has to wait?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to form it and everything else. What we can do with a box culvert.
Not months and months more.
It depends on how you do it, Katie. Normally what I like to do is I like to put these out to bid in the fall.
So
Issue the contract late fall, sometime December. Issue the purchase order end of December, early January, and tell them to go ahead and pour the box culvert, get it prepared. I don't like to do bridge. Well, this one it's already out of service, but typically you don't try to do work in winter time. It's difficult. So then what you do is say April 1st, the box culvert's already delivered, and you hit the ground running.
And is the longevity projected any different between these 4?
No.
How old is the one that's there?
1930s.
Yes, I thought.
I wasn't around when they built it.
Thank you, Jack.
But now that you brought that up, we will have to do a state historic preservation review of the bridge.
What?
We have to do a state historic preservation review of the bridge.
Before anything can be done?
Yeah. We did it on Tamarack Road for the pipe. It's a requirement by the Army Corps of Engineers.
And how long does that take to get in the
It takes,
pipeline?
normally, it depends on their review. I think Tamarack it took us several months. It's something we can do now, instead of waiting,
I see.
trying to keep things moving.
Is this because there may be something they see that's so historically significant that they would not want the bridge changed?
I've been involved with them several times. They offer comments. The one on Tamarack Pipe, they came back, said it was a pipe, and they didn't find anything significant. I did some work in Berlin where they came back and offered comments.
Yikes.
I don't expect anything on this bridge. I don't find anything that's unusual.
So you can ask them to come before any of this happens. They can just do it tomorrow.
I got the forms today from Army Corps of Engineer, so I expect that we'll start to fill them out.
Great.
Okay,
Jack,
now.
oh, go ahead. I'll let you
Oh,
finish.
go ahead,
Sorry.
Mayor, I'm
No, I was
sorry.
gonna make- I'll let you finish.
Okay. Now, the reason I stated before that it depends on the decisions by the town council. There is a grant application that we have pretty much filled out already, that we would submit in March or April, depending on when the state has not given a final date for solicitation, which would give us 50% of the construction cost. If the town was to approve us to apply for that grant, and we would be awarded. I don't find very often they don't award them to you. The bridge would have to be a 2-lane bridge. It's a requirement by DOT. In a quote from DOT in their email to me on the 15th of February, the ADT exceeds 100 cars. Immediately makes this type of bridge functionally obsolete. This is a misuse of public funds because all known deficiencies in a bridge must be corrected as a basis for the funding. So if we apply for the grant and we award the grant, it must be a 2-lane bridge.
How much was the grant?
The grant's 50-50. We have to put 50% in, they put 50%.
I mean, with no cap?
You put it in, there really is not a cap. You normally put in a first estimate, and then you put a supplemental estimate. It's the process we've used for Mud Pond, Gaylord, and other bridges.
So if you put in 1.4 million, they'd pay half? We'd have
They
to
pay
the
half,
rest?
right.
Huh.
Originally, the grant was supposed to be issued on March 1st. Based on the most recent email from DOT, they haven't issued the grant yet, so we're expecting it sometime in March or April. We've completed the paperwork. It's not a difficult form to start. In the conversation with Army, this is more of a concern to me. In our recent conversation with Army Corps of Engineer, they received their general permit late in last year. They are being more strict about the 1.2 times the bank width on design, which we don't, with either one of these, we don't think is going to be an issue. This can be achieved but with either a single box or a bridge. The part that I'm concerned about is that they are also now requiring a 2-foot freeboard from the high water mark. When we applied it to that bridge, to where it's located, it may do one of two things: either require us to extend the length of the bridge, or increase the height. In other words, pick it up. In either case, because of the location, we'd have to do some engineering with driveways and approaches. We did talk.
Sorry, could you repeat that? 1.2, what is that? What are we talking
1.2
about?
times the bank width as far as the capacity of and that's standard. The part that we talk more about is the 2-foot freeboard.
Right.
We would, we don't want to do that.
No.
And I want to work with them with that. So we are already working on to see how we can design around that requirement.
How did it make it since 1930 without any of these problems? It's just amazing.
The design standards changed. I mean, they changed again recently.
Bless
And, in order to get Army Corps of Engineer approval, which we need, we have to try, we're working with them.
How did the Army Corps of Engineer even know that we were doing this bridge? Couldn't you have just done it? Satellite photos. Yeah, I guess.
The Army, well, it goes through DOT, it goes through
Right.
DEP.
It seems like such a small bridge to be.
We went through Army Corps on the Tamarack Road one. Army Corps is requiring studies for the bog turtle. We were there again, Mayor. And that one took a long time last time to determine there were no bog turtles.
But there's not any here, right?
Well, we have to do the study.
How they want us to do a
We have to submit the study.
There are brown trout.
It's not in the same watershed. If it was in the same watershed, I could apply the same study we did last time. It's not, so I can't use the same study. The monarch butterflies and the long-eared bats. So we have to do 3.
Yeah.
I've talked about that. I've talked to DEP. They were actually more conducive to working with us. The young man I spoke with, Steve Gephardt, has retired. The new person is I spoke with said he would come out, stop, and look and see what we're doing, and go through the design plans with us as we go.
That's good. When would somebody come to determine if we have turtles, trout, or?
Well, we'll have to do the studies. We can
But
get
the
a-
butterflies, we have to wait, right?
Well, we'll see.
Or you could say there aren't any
Not today.
now.
So finding any of these things changes our options, or it just?
Well, with the long-eared bat, what happens is it changes the time frame that we can do the work. There's certain times of the year you can't do the work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the bog turtles? how
We
long
haven't
do I
found them
have to
thus
get them
far.
out of
We'd
there?
have to do special provisions for protecting the bog turtle from being injured or entering the work site.
Oh, okay, it's not
It's not a deal
going
breaker.
forward.
It
when
doesn't stop the construction of the bridge, it just puts more requirements for us to.
So we get a volunteer to keep them away?
So,
I'm ready.
actually, you put it in the bid specifications of what you do.
Gosh, I'm so glad I'm not sitting there.
So, Jack, I have a question about the long-eared bat. Are they like nesting under the bridge? I mean, what is the concern about the long-eared bat?
Actually, they're more concerned that they're nesting in the trees adjacent to the bridge.
To the trees adjacent, okay.
Yeah. And what happens, sometimes if there's a certain species there, they limit the time frame where you can do work.
Okay.
So many of these studies that we've talked about, I'm going to ask the engineers to start working on those.
Yeah.
To get them done ahead of time. We're still in the process of deciding to submit a grant application, and then the design of the bridge. Now, because the design has been started, actually completed for a double box culvert, the amount that the engineers have put in for redesigning is less, and our level of confidence is higher, so there's less of a contingency in the two box culverts than there are in the two poured bridges.
And, does anybody else to council have any questions? Sal?
Just have a question, John. So, this historic part is what I'm confused about. So, we have to do all the historic things. When the state comes in, they give us a 50% of whatever, the millions of dollars, and they say it's going to be 2 lanes. So all of a sudden, it's not an issue.
I don't know that they would.
I'm not picking out on you. I'm trying to find the logic of what they do.
On the historic, they wouldn't dictate the width. They would be more of the substance of the design as far as the appearance. We're doing it right now. We've got the state historic grant for the roof on the building. On the Cherneski bridge, on the Tamarack Bridge, it was wasn't very quick. We actually waited several months. Determination came back that, it's a pipe. No, you're not going to get any money for it.
But it's 2 lane, period. No 1 lane.
No, it's not. That's the decision that the town that we have to make as a group. If the town wants to fund the bridge, you can do a single lane bridge.
Right.
But the cost is all on the town.
Right. So two factors we have. One, if state comes in, 50%, 2 lanes, period.
Right.
Take it or leave it. So that's one option.
Yes.
Second option, we're using the ARPA forums, the funds, whatever that would be, and we're funding the bridge.
Yes.
And we're gonna have a single lane.
Yeah,
I can see arguments for that.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's all us. State says whatever. If it's built by Roman Empire, all of a sudden it's not an issue anymore, and we can do whatever we want, or they do whatever they want with the 50% that they give us.
Yeah. Cool. And the question I did, Randy, I don't know, I had asked Randy, and Randy deferred me to Greg, was if you use the ARPA funds, was there the same requirement to design it to a standard? And I believe the answer I've gotten so far is no.
It is.
Oh, they don't.
Mr. Mayor, the issue that comes down to, frankly, is the state considers a 1-lane bridge to be an obsolete design.
Yes, exactly.
And they will not fund it. They will not let you use any grant funds to install an obsolete design. I didn't know whether or not the ARPA funds have that same restriction. And so Jack and I have done some research on it, and apparently it doesn't, but it's only apparently it doesn't. So I don't know that. If we're gonna do a 1-lane bridge, We need to be committed to fund it, either with or without ARPA funds. So that's the determination that we have to make. I wish I could give you a definitive answer.
Can you find out?
I don't think so, because
Well, I
I
realize
don't
it's
think
digging a little
specific
too deep.
single-lane bridges are in vogue at this
Right,
time.
but there is the potential that if we did it, and somebody at some point in it says, you know, the ARPA world looks at it and says, oh, we don't fund these kind.
I don't know the answer. That's the problem.
Well,
But I do know the state funds cannot be used for an obsolete design.
Right.
Is that fair to say, Jack?
Oh yeah, it's fair to say you cannot use the state grants for, I have it.
For one-lane bridge.
For one-lane bridges, you cannot.
So how is New Milford Town protected from being sued by the state? Because they're overseeing the whole state, right? If they're saying the one-lane bridge is obsolete, we want to have a two-bridge period.
We don't get
if
their
it's
money.
enough.
They can't, we could do a one-lane bridge, but it's our money, it's our nickel.
I understand. Okay, but the state, this is us.
Right.
They're saying 50% two-lane, we're paying one lane. At some point, they say, okay, you build the one-lane bridge, cool, but this is not the standards that we have.
Right.
And they're going after us, then what?
They're not gonna go after us, they just won't pay us.
Right.
We just can't use the state grant money.
What happens if there's an accident on the bridge? And they're saying, you don't have a bridge to our standards, then what?
It's not.
Well, actually, we'd still have a measure of immunity. That's not.
Right.
I don't know, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Because it's the state and it's us, right?
It
State
just
is
has
us.
to do with the funding,
It's really
Sal,
funding,
because they
Sal.
don't want to fund anything that's
Funding.
obsolete.
Ah.
But they want to send the historic preservation man to look at something.
I don't know. I
Kind
don't
of
trust
won't
state that
fund
much, to be
now.
honest with you, if you ask it. But anyway.
Do we get out of that?
Yeah, can I-
Is the
Can
loophole,
I ask a question?
I was just gonna ask one more question.
Yep.
Is it possible that the historic person will look at it and say it should be built as it is, meaning a poured bridge, and it should be one lane for the historic preservation of it, and then we get out of that and can apply for the grant, or is that not in the cards?
The information I have from the state DOT is they will not fund
No matter what. Okay.
It would be on the town.
Gotcha.
Chris, and then
Yes, thank you. So, and I just want to make sure I've got this straight. So options 1 and 2 for 943K or 1.43 million would be totally on New Milford's dime.
Correct.
Yes.
And then options 3 and 4 for 1.1 million, 1.6 million, we could get funded 50% by the state, so it would cost New Milford taxpayers $500,000 or 800K, right?
Yes, that's correct, Chris.
Okay, so, and I'm trying to figure out how, and I know this has been going on forever, and I know, you know, a couple of years ago, we were waiting forever for the Army Corps of Engineers, and then we decided to do it completely on our own for like $600,000. Is that true?
That is true, Chris, yes.
And then at some point, some of the local residents there, for whatever reason, decided they didn't like what we were doing. They went to the state, and now we've got Army Corps of Engineers. We got the state back involved again, and a lot more money potentially for New Milford taxpayers.
Who was that, Chris, for the record? Who went to the state?
We had gotten several feedback, and also I've gotten calls from the state concerned that we were going and doing the bridge at that point, and then and then there was the inland wetlands portion of it, and at that point there was also determination there may be a price increase, so we withdrew the bid.
Okay.
I guess I'm sorry, I would sort of push back on that characterization of the timeline, but that's neither here nor there because here we are. I think if you're just looking at the single lane box culvert and we have 600 of ARPA funds, supposing we can actually use those, then we're there, you know, except for the 340. So that's not that outrageous, but I think that understanding fully if we can use ARPA is key, right?
And also there's still someone to come and inspect, and they'd have to go along with you're talking about the 943,000 option, right? The least expensive. So that's the one that's the single lane with the box, not the poured.
Three-sided.
But I thought, the three-sided box, but I thought we had about the poured, right? Right. We've heard some comments against that and more in favor of the board, so, right?
I think environmentally, I think aesthetically, I think all of those things are, lean in favor of the board. So.
Right, which means then that we're
And it's 1.4 plus.
4, right,
So
minus
that's
the 600 and
So is it possible there are other sources for grant money?
Jack?
For example, if they do decide that part of it might be historical, might there not be grant money?
If they determine that. I have
Yeah,
not seen
of
them
course. Right,
do
okay,
a bridge at this point,
Okay.
but
But if we go with the grant monies, taking state funds.
Not from the state, from other sources.
Which would be what?
I'm just asking. There are all kinds of people out there with money. There's potential for other grants that don't necessarily have to be state money. That's all. Okay,
So I
that's
think
one, and I have one more.
I think
One more. We heard this evening that there was 700,000 allocated for this bridge in January of 2021.
We're
What
trying to listen
happened?
to council, please.
What happened to that 700,000?
Jack, could you talk a little bit
Okay.
about the finances?
the finances were, there were 900,000, what is it? It's in a, I provide the mayor and Greg with funding, with bridges, a bridge schedule. It goes out several years. In there, I have to identify how much I think we're gonna spend on each year on bridges. The year you're talking about, I had put in $300,000 for Tamarack, $600,000 for Cherneski. The $300,000 for Tamarack is being spent. It's about $300,000 to replace the pipe on Tamarack, so that money is already committed. That remained $600,000. That was the money originally last year we were going to use to build the bridge. So at this point, we have not expended those funds.
the 300 or the 600?
The 600. The 300 has been committed for
So the
Tamarack.
600,000 that was for Cherneski is still sitting on the shelf?
It's in the budget that we had prepared for previously.
So if we already allocated 600 and the town council voted for another 600, we're at 1.2.
That's,
I don't
So
know,
the
problem
only-
solved as
Yeah,
far as I'm
that's the
concerned.
But the only thing is to make sure that well, I guess we are sure that ARPA, you can use it for ARPA.
Well, we're gonna double check.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe double check all the things we've.
We'll
Well,
talk to the auditor. on
Just one other
see if
question.
we'll move
And-
it. Chris?
and This is, I don't know if you guys can answer this. Is there any understanding we've got a lot of other bridges to do in the years down the road? Are we making any precedent here on any decision we make on this bridge for other bridges?
I mean, other bridges that might
Randy?
be single lane?
From a legal perspective?
I think
No.
that's what Chris is asking.
No, Chris, there's no legal precedent here. This is an engineering and community issue. It's not a legal issue.
Okay.
Jack, how many single lane bridges do we have left in town?
well, if you start going after the scenic dirt roads, there's a lot.
No, I know how many, we got a lot of scenic roads, but I don't count all the bridges.
Well,
or
if you,
single-
as I said, you go into the scenic road, the dirt roads, on the pipes and everything, there's probably, and really this is just a real guesstimate on my part, between 15 and 20 of them.
We have 62 altogether.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, I come back to that, this is the West Aspetuck, which happens to be probably one of the most pristine
Right.
Waterways in
Fishing.
all of Connecticut. There are brown trout, there are several really quite special, unique features. So I would say that there is something special right here, but, and certainly if it is precedent towards being more environmentally, conscious, I think that's probably a good thing.
I think if it's okay with the council, what we do is follow up with the auditors to reconfirm using ARPA funding in any way we can, any way we like with the bridge design. And then if we could come back and ask Greg to find out what we have available with funding to confirm it.
You want my opinion? The likelihood that the federal government is gonna come and audit every infrastructure, every bridge across the United States of America is highly unlikely.
I think it's worth a phone call, though.
Yes, we wouldn't want
With
to.
the
I'm
auditor.
not sure he's going to be able to answer that
Well,
question
we can report
either.
it back to the council, and then we can
Right.
figure it out.
So we have the 600 from ARPA, 600 that's left from the original, right?
So Greg, we do have in the bridge account, if we take ARPA funding, 1.2 million.
Now, I'll double check on that.
Okay. if you could.
And you said about 1.4. So
The
there you
phone,
go,
right?
Alex.
Yeah,
We
a little bit
can
over
try to
phone.
get a loan for 200,000.
200,000.
How about
I-
that?
But there's
more
a,
reasonable
but Jack, just so the edification of people watching and people here, you also preface this, that this could be a differential of 20%.
Yes.
So we need to button it down pretty severely for our next meeting, like what we figure the true cost really would be.
Well, this is, I could talk with them further. This is very, their best estimate this time without doing, starting to do much more engineering. We have to do borings and things like, other engineering work before we can really get that, much more detail than this. They've been working on this for several weeks now. I asked them to make sure that I had the most recent and best information to come tonight. This has been subject to conversations with DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers and getting their input so that we could incorporate that into this number.
Jack, is there a way that you could give us, I don't mean tonight, but the next meeting, maybe a potential worst-case scenario financially?
Yeah.
Well, because you said there's a potential for some costs to go up just because things cost more, but you were gonna put a little escalation factor in there, right? Just because if we could make it to the 1.2, we don't wanna get our hopes up and find out that it's, a lot more than a couple 100,000.
I could, we've done a lot of that already, Katie.
Just to be,
But, we
prepared.
could try to look at, I could try to reach out to some of the other consulting engineers to see what their prices are. But everyone I've spoken with to this point has said they've seen deviations in price between, 10, 20, and 30%. The highest I've heard thus far is 30%. Now, what I can do is talk to some of the contractors and see if they're seeing anything.
Like the borings and stuff, that's included in
Yeah, that's-
here?
yeah.
Okay.
The boring's already in here. What may not be in here is the size of the piles. We've put in certain piles.
Right.
The soil structure there, from what they have thus far, is sand. I can tell you of a bridge in Litchfield where originally we thought we were gonna do a repair. We went from a $750,000 bridge to a $3 million bridge because the sand along the Bantam River wasn't substantial enough to hold the bridge.
And is there some point you have to wait for the Army Corps to come in, if you go, let's say we start this, do they have to inspect it throughout, or they just walk away after?
No, the process for this and what we're trying to do is there's two ways of getting permitting through the Army Corps. There is the first way, which is basically self-verification. What we do is they give us a form, we check all the boxes is what we're laying out here. If we do that, self-verification is usually done within a very quick review time, and they give us go ahead. In
Right.
fact, at that point, DEP doesn't even have to come in and
Oh.
inspect it because they have an agreement between the Army Corps
Good.
and DEP. If we go the other route, we have to go out for notice on the bridge, and that takes much longer. And that's if you don't meet all of the requirements. Let's say we try to go, and I'll use that as an example. I'm not trying to say this is gonna happen, but let me use an example. Let's say that the Army Corps comes back and says we have to raise the bridge 2 feet. Now, if we have to raise the bridge 2 feet, there's a driveway. Mr. Batista's driveway is right there.
Right.
And now this is gonna greatly impact the entrance and exit to his property. And I've already brought that up to them, that, this is there. In fact, we took the, earth probe there, we came down, we walked it so that he could see it. So then he says, well, maybe we can lengthen the bridge. Well, that's gonna impact his driveway and the entrance from the east side. You notice there's a slope coming down, we'd have to cut into that and change the slope. We're trying to avoid both of those and say, can we get an exception? If we don't check those boxes, we may have to go out and go through the process where we have to go through a permitting phase, which means we meet with DEP, we meet with the DOT, we go through hearings with DOT. It's the second permitting process called a PCN, pre-construction verification.
And Jack, does these verifications that would require state assistance, are all three of these bridge options available for that? So if we're gonna use our own town funds to do a single lane bridge, can we still go through that engineering route?
The
Or-
self-verification you could do on both kinds.
Okay.
The PCN would be more difficult because now you have to go through DOT and DEP as far as their review. I don't think DEP is really going to provide any negative input on the width of the bridge. There's more in the structure allowing the aquatic life. DOT will weigh in negatively because the bridge will be considered functionally obsolete the moment we build it. As part of that, even before when we were looking at doing the single lane double box, I had to issue a note to the design engineer explaining that we were instructing them to do that. They cannot do that without the town instructing them to design a bridge.
That's already.
Yeah, deficient. As part of that, we would have to put signage up. And I know that we were exchanging emails about a group, and I explained that we would have to put stop signs at each end of the bridge and stop notices coming down to the bridge. It's just a requirement. I think that at that point, I don't think don't remember getting any negative feedback on the stop signs.
You mean the stop signs would have to stay there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know if anybody will obey them, but they'll be there.
And then Randy, as far as using full town funds, right? Do you see an issue legally with us doing a one-lane bridge, which Jack is saying is obsolete when we build it?
Liability-wise? No.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions for Jack so far?
I just want to make sure. So we're pretty much scratched 3 and 4 option. We're leaning towards 2, and probably not option 1.
Leaning towards, 2.
Right? Is that what I'm hearing? I guess the point I'm trying to make, the more we're gonna have these debates and emails and everything in between, and try to see how much trout goes to the bridge back and forth, and turtles and everything else. By the end of this year, this bridge is gonna cost probably $2 million.
That's a concern. I mean, I gave the mayor a rough estimate last week on that, and I did tell him it could be upwards of $2 million. I don't, at this point, the official estimate I got from the engineer was 1.6 on a double and 1.4 on a single.
They're predicting $6 a gallon of oil, of gasoline.
That's the wild card right now.
It is. It's true.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying to you there could be an escalation even beyond what we've given us.
So we cannot talk about this
And I'm just curious, not to belabor this, but should they say that you need the 2-foot freeboard? How much does that add?
That I think will add another 20-25%.
Well, let's just not talk about it.
We are trying to engage the Army Corps to not do that.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we'd have to do it. Yeah, we'd have to do a taking for that also.
Sooner the better with something.
We would like.
Jack?
Yes?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, all I was going to say, Chris, is that what I really would like to do is to be able to make a decision so we can get this designed. I would like to get this out to bid in the fall so that we can start construction. Actually, I would start, once we issue the contract, I would tell them to demolish the bridge. You could do that in the wintertime, and that would just keep us moving.
Hey, Jack, so my question is, do we have DEP's blessing on all 4 options?
DEP doesn't weigh in on the width of the bridge. They only do on the type of bridge that you put. My conversations with the young man at DEP is that they will work with us. If we go self-verification, the DEP's approval is no longer required.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jack? Okay. Thank you, Jack. Thanks.
Okay, item number 9, Greg would give us an update, finance.
Good evening. This is the January financial update. Revenues are at 82.6% of budget. On a straight line basis, we would expect to be at 60%. Tax collections are 92% of budget overall, with current taxes at 92.3%. Both interest income and stiff interest are running at 59.7% and 27.8% respectively. Most departments are averaging above the straight line calculation with the exception of health, aging, and the max. We did receive a windfall of $394,000 from FEMA as a result of reimbursement from Storm Isis, excuse me, which occurred in August of 2020. These expenses were incurred in fiscal year 21. However, we will recognize the revenues this fiscal year as we had not received a letter of commitment from FEMA until this fiscal year, and our auditors informed me that without a letter of commitment, the town could not accrue the revenues. Expenditures on a cash basis are at 57% of budget. I see no issues with expenditures at this point in time, with the exception of tax rebates and refunds, which are at 88.7% expended as of January. A request for a budget transfer will be pending from the assessor. Unemployment compensation is running significantly under budget with only 4.5% of the budget expended. In summary, on a cash basis, revenues are at $86,844,896.37, and expenditures are $57,915,861.64, leaving the town with a positive cash flow of $28,929,034.70 for this fiscal year.
Any questions for Greg?
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Item number 10, Mayor, I would like to move that we set a public hearing date for the update of the purchasing ordinance, and it's been suggested March 14th, 2022,
It's, say, 6:45.
6:45.
And this, we approved the purchasing authority recommendations at our last meeting. Now we have to have a public hearing for it.
Is there a second?
Second
I'll
from
second.
Alex. Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Aye.
Okay, item 10B is discussion and possible action on the following ARPA funding, and I would move for the second item, which was the sewer connection abatement that we had discussed, that we do that?
Yes, Kay, I'd like to have it first for the addiction and depression
Oh,
funding. I was
sorry.
gonna bring information
You
from
wanted to-
Confident
Okay,
and from two other ones. I've not received all that information yet.
then
So
I'll
I'd like to
just,
see if we could push that to the next meeting.
the sewer?
No, the
The
addiction
addiction.
and depression fund.
Okay,
I
I'm
was supposed to
sorry, I
get
went
that
out of,
from- That's okay.
my bullets
From
were off.
Confident Health.
So I'll withdraw my motion, and, forget I said that, Stephanie. So,
next
bullet
is this-
number 1, the addiction and depression funding, we're going to move that to,
The next meeting,
which would be.
when I can get all the information to the council.
Okay.
Do we need a motion or just, you're just gonna push it to, okay?
Yeah.
Can I just say one comment on that? Is that, are we approving any of these numbers right here, right now, tonight? Or are
I
we
would
talking
suggest
through
that we approve the sewer connection abatement,
Which is, what's the amount of that, 138?
136.
So what's remaining in?
If you were to approve that, that would give you, we'd still have left. About 288,000.
Okay, and, do we have on the table the farmers thing? I mean, could I make a motion to earmark 24,000 for addiction? Can you do something like that? I mean, I feel like we're gonna before we get all the information, we might, spend it all.
Is like a placeholder?
12,000. So I spoke with Mark Eccles from Heritage Inn, and you know, at $1,000 a month would pay for somebody who couldn't afford. So at 24,000, that would be 2 years of bringing somebody in once a month who couldn't afford it. And he said it happens all the time. So that's just sort of
Right,
a.
it's a voucher. So the other sober houses are in line with that cost
Right.
also. Right.
So if we want to do 1 year for 3 houses or 2 years for 1 house, you know, I think anything would be
Yeah.
meaningful.
So that whoever had an opening they could still be subsidized.
Correct. So it's where and who has the funds to use as the voucher, right? Does Justin Colmer have that fund in the police department line, and he can then spend it for a
Well,
voucher?
Justin's main concern was
Mhm.
if it was talked about before, you're using a hotel room, right?
Mhm.
To subsidize that. Who would then watch the person
Right.
during the time? Because if that person went and used, right, and overdosed, we paid for the room, we could be liable for that.
So you mean when you pay for, so that it has to be a voucher for them to be in the program of Heritage Inn, not in any way, you know, under a New Milford.
Right, they'd have to have gone through, just as the people who live there and all of them, they'd have to be able to.
And so would that go
meet the criteria.
your thought process, would that go the funding directly to the entity?
Well, you know, if I may say, this is how the subsidy process works for enrichment programs and other things that are done, you know, for children or really anything, rather than to give the funding to the person, it's given to the provider. And I think we could do that so that we ensured that the person was here in our town and have maybe more oversight with Justin.
So it would be to a specific place.
You can do that, or because we're so fortunate that we have three and one set for women, right? I think that the details of how the subsidy and the voucher could be worked out when we have more concrete information, but I don't think it's a bad idea to set aside, that's a good way to look at it.
And then iron out the details and make sure it
I mean, it's a
passes.
reasonable amount of money, and with Justin involved and the sober house people, we could definitely work that out. If you think, Mayor, that we can set aside, I don't know if you want to call it set aside, but.
And come back with how we do it.
Right.
Right.
So are we talking about setting aside money for a specific purpose? Or are we just saying, let's set aside some money until we can understand how we want to?
No, it's for a voucher type system, subsidy system, Chris, where we would ensure, because that was a question that came up the last time we talked about it, is how do we know? Because Justin can't follow every single person. They do have to meet criteria before they're allowed to go into the sober house. They have to be, reasonably well to take care of themselves. So if we were to do it as a subsidy voucher is the term, it's probably not the correct term for this, we would be in control of the knowledge of person X going to whatever sober house had the space available. And, you're not paying it for a year, you're paying it in much shorter increments than that. And at least we'd have more oversight by having it in a sober house that we had more contact with, I guess, in a best way to say it. But it's a process that's used for many things.
Like that, I'd like to understand how Justin feels how effective that use of money would be.
These would be people that would be coming after they've sobered up, dried out, whatever you want to call it. And they now are ready to go into, this is how it works now, they are ready to go into a facility, a sober house, and live. They live their life. They take care of themselves, they have jobs, they cook their own meals, they have to function within society and societal norms in order to stay there. There's very strict rules to be there. And if this funding would allow somebody who might have to, as an example, go to another state because they had some sort of funding through their insurance, or they borrowed it and their grandmother lived down in South Carolina or something like that. This would allow us to have a more local, I guess, a local sense of the person and how, and that the person would be doing what they're supposed to be doing, which it's a common thing to do the subsidy. How we work out the part about the person being there. Justin's point last time was he wouldn't know where the person ended up, and we wouldn't know where they went to their first step after, being out of the emergency room. But if they came back here, if they were New Milford, greater New Milford people, then we would be able to subsidize it.
And then they don't get lost in the system.
Well, yes, and hopefully they wouldn't get lost in the system. So I think putting the money as, saying that, as Hillary said, Chris, this is more of a set aside of $24,000 so that we don't forget that we do want to do something for this, and that is, I think, personally, that's a good thing. I'd vote for that.
Yeah, well, I guess that goes back to my question. So if it's just a set aside to do something in the alcohol, the addiction and depression funding, I'm for that. If we're saying we want to do it for this specific purpose, I don't think I have enough information that says that's the best use of the funds.
Well, this would be just to set it aside, and then we can have somebody come, and we have, several sober house people. We have Justin, and I think we could get the details to see, but at least it's $24,000 that we have saved, if you will, because we are getting down, to the end of this money.
Yep, understood. Yep, that I agree with you. Good.
So how do you want to do it, Mary? You want to set aside, or you just want to earmark it?
Set aside, earmark, same thing.
24. Do we vote on that?
Yep, well,
Okay.
first we have you made a motion first.
Yes, I
for the
did.
connection fee.
Okay. Yes, I did.
Yes.
I missed that. What was this?
But I didn't get a second.
Then we stopped and then moved
Right,
into.
right. So
and
I
then it's-
withdrew my motion for the sewer connection fee. I flushed that away. And now I'm going to make a motion.
Oh, come on.
It took you a while, didn't it? I'd like to move that we set aside $24,000 of ARPA funds to be used after further discussion for addiction and depression funding subsidies, as we've discussed tonight, unless something comes up that shows that there's a better or obvious way.
Yep.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Whoa, good.
Okay.
All right. Now, I'd like to move ahead to make a motion that we move forward in funding the sewer connection abatement that we discussed earlier with the this is the one with the moratorium?
Correct.
I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
And as this kind of a refresher for everybody, due to the connection fees, because the sewer commission has been trying to pay for the plant expansion within their footprint, has made these fees incredibly hard on new businesses and people that have a business here currently that are trying to expand their business. What I did was I took the average of what over 3 years, what they actually pay to the town of New Milford in connection fees. And this would be a 2-year run rate. That's why it's $138,000. So it's not much that we get in connection fees to the town. But the town subsidizes the sewer plant to about $1.5 million a year because they can't pay their debt, right? So the key is they're at 30% capacity of the plant. The key is to get as many people as we can hooked up because A, it brings additional efficiency and vitality to the plant. B, it hooks people up for safety rather than having people decide not to either invest in the district or they're going to continue on septic where we created this sewer plant and expansion to have people hook up. So this allows us to create a moratorium for 2 years for commercial businesses, both new and existing, that want to expand the ability to do that.
Is there a second to Katie's motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Absolutely.
Okay. if we had more money left in the ARPA fund, I can see your point. I'm so concerned that we still don't know all that we should know about how to spend this money. And I also feel that I'd like some more information. For example, do we have any sense at all what businesses would then take advantage of this? Do we have any, I know it's forecasting an unknown future, but.
I can tell you this, you will have right now it's at 30%. If you were to do this moratorium for 2 years, you'd easily add 10% capacity to the plant.
Which is a big consideration, because we're
Absolutely.
really underutilizing the plant, which is not good for it.
And that's, I can tell you that's a no-brainer.
So ultimately, it's going to cost less for the town and not
Correct.
even subsidizing. But this pocket of money is my problem. I'm really concerned about the fact that there are things that are very important need to be done for the town, and I can't feel comfortable with this 136,000, which brings us down to next to nothing that's left. The timing's terrible. That's all.
I think the idea is great, Mayor, for the business, for the evolution of this town. We can think ahead, we can plan ahead, we can have this on the table when business comes in, and we can propose that, hey, you have this hookup, no issue, make it easier for the people that will pay more taxes. We can debate this all day long. 136,000, we just talked about the bridge that's gonna cost probably $2 million just a second ago. If this is gonna bring way much more money to the town, so be it. I don't see an issue.
Well, I can say, though, one thing is that we have had businesses leave New Milford and go to Brookfield, too. We had a business who wanted to start here, but the sewer connection fee, this was a cooking was involved, and that,
Somebody on the phone needs to put themselves on mute.
would that be me?
You. You're making noise.
Anyway, we have had businesses that have left, and we've had people come to look at opening a business here, and the sewer fees are a deterrent. I think it's some of it is you don't think of it. It's not one of those things at the top of mind when you decide this is where you want to have your business.
Exactly.
And when you find out how much it is, right? I mean, you know more about the people than I
Absolutely.
do. I know a few, and it's sad. They didn't want to leave, but they just really, it's a big fee to start up a nascent business, so. I think it's 136,000. I mean, I'm not arguing with you that at some point we knew we were gonna run out of these funds, but I think it's well spent.
I don't know, you had your calculator out, Mr. Mayor, with that 136 and the 24,000, what's left?
24,000, that Joe has it, 264.
264 is left if we put if we say yes to the 136?
Just my math on a piece of paper, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's just,
I thought you said it was,
Yeah, well, I also took out the 24,000.
So how much is left?
If we were to approve the sewer connection fee abatement, it'd be 264 left.
254?
Yep. 264.
After both the
Correct.
24,000 and the 138.
and then we have 4 other items tonight. Do we have numbers against those items?
You have HVA, they're here, and she's gonna talk a little bit about.
I wonder
about
if
her
I could just
project.
because we're getting so close, if I had a
It's
better
2,000.
picture.
okay, so young lady from HVA, she stood up before and let us know ahead of time. Didn't you say 2,000? 3,000. Do I hear 4? No, I know what you're saying. Okay. 3. And then the library, I believe we went over that a couple of meetings ago, right?
And Lauren's gonna talk a little bit about that.
3774, because I eliminated the staffing.
So that's 87,000.
What'd you say it was, Lorna? 83?
83,774.
And that's for,
That eliminates the staffing.
well, what is in that 83?
It's for
Just roughly.
furniture, equipment, materials, and also to run programming.
Is there any staff left in that?
No.
Okay. So that's no staff. Okay.
So just to clarify, that was everything that was on your list when you presented, minus the people. to
Minus
do
the
work.
people. Yeah.
Got it.
How I would adjust things, actually.
And the veterans assistance, is there a
Was,
number?
in speaking with Commander McBriarty, and he left, it'd be like 25,000.
Okay.
That'd be for wheelchairs, crutches,
Mhm.
for veterans.
So that's 90,000.
And Joe's
So-
is 150.
Joe's was 156, yeah.
Yeah, there is some conversation to be had on that, that, no, in our economic development, it's in the EDC part of ARPA, plus our own economic development, but there are loans through that specifically for farmers. And,
Well, no, farmers can, if they have a business.
Right.
um,
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
those-
they can
right.
access the ARPA funds that we did for small business, which are $5,000 grants.
Right.
They just have to prove that they had an income loss within the 2 years of COVID. And then they would qualify, and that gets vetted out by the Economic Development Corporation.
And personally,
That's only a
having
piece
been
of it.
involved with the Sullivan Farm from many years, and the Friends of Sullivan Farm and other farmland initiatives, I think
That's-
rather than to take that to heart, I might want to have some
these-
farmers that have been working,
And those three things are for discussion in the next one.
right,
This one here, B, is for ones that we would either move on for further action or
Okay.
pushing them off.
right.
So, do we have a motion?
Can we
for-
vote?
You have a motion?
Well, we have a
Motion and
motion
a second
for
for
the
sewer.
sewer, and who was the second?
I
Alex,
second.
right? Alex?
I think it was Sal.
You're saying?
Oh, Sal?
I seconded it, yes.
Second doesn't mean I have to vote for it.
No,
Okay.
it doesn't.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I'm opposed.
Okay. Any abstentions? Okay.
Did all the call-in people vote?
No.
Mary Jane, did you vote?
Which way did you vote?
No, I'm opposed to the sewer connection
Which way did you
abatement.
vote? Yes?
Okay.
You gotta tell her.
That was a yes?
No,
No?
I think she
can't,
voted
I'm
no.
sorry.
She was opposing.
she's opposing.
Opposing, okay.
Yes, I voted yes.
Okay. So that brings us to the library funds, and I'd like to make the motion that we expend ARPA funds to the tune of 83,700, Lorna?
83,774.
That's pretty close, eh?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Okay.
Okay.
So our work here is finished pretty quickly,
all right.
because we're gonna be out of money.
Can I get an understanding, we had $7 million and we're down to the last few pennies?
Yep.
Just thought I'd wrap my head around that. All right.
Okay.
And projects are already moving along. So that leaves us then for 10C, discussion, as we said.
So can we,
Yeah, we already did.
right, we already had a positive talk for HVA because she's been here for quite some time. Is there any questions concerning her request?
Can you just run down just run down what you're gonna do with that money?
Yeah, so first of all, we submitted nearly
Can
identical
you give your name again?
requests.
It was a long time ago that you gave your name.
Yes, I'm Lindsay Larson. I'm the Connecticut Watershed Manager for the Housatonic Valley Association, 150 Kent Road South, Cornwall Ridge. So we submitted nearly identical requests to the 7 river towns along the proposed wild and scenic stretch of the Housatonic River. So, sorry. New Milford is the southernmost and then working up to the Mass border. So, it's 3,000, it's not much, but to 7 towns, so it adds up. It's for 2 initiatives. The first is the 5th summer of our River Information and Outreach Program, where we hire seasonal staff to go out every weekend to visit popular river recreation areas along Route 7. So the southernmost is Gaylordsville Bridge, and then they work their way up to Great Falls. So the goal of that program is visitor engagement, promoting safe, sustainable use of these river sites. So they answer questions, they make sure people know that a lot of these sites are carry in, carry out, they hand out trash bags, and they're just a consistent presence along the river.
So this funding would match funding that we've already gotten from First Light and also from the Northwest Connecticut Community Foundation to support the program this summer. The second part of that request is something new we want to try out this year and use a little bit of money to fund overtime for a CTDEP NCON officer to do river patrols on the weekend. So this is something we've heard a lot of support for in our conversations with towns and community groups and other stakeholders. NCON is spread fairly thin, so it's a matter of them having people to do the hours, but they've told us if we could raise the money, they could at least have someone commit 4 to 6 hours on the weekends just to go up and down the river and focus on those sites, again, from Gaylordsville Bridge up to Great Falls. So we're really hoping we can get all the towns to buy in for that. I think that will, if only some towns buy in, we'll have to go back to CTDEP and figure out how that's going to work, if they're going to be able to do that. But ideally, it would be that whole stretch of river.
Have you gotten a commitment from any of the other towns yet?
Yep, so the town of Cornwall is our first commitment. And I've been, I have some town meetings that I'll be attending coming up, but I've been in conversation with the various towns.
But even if you didn't get funding from all of them, you'd still be able to do something.
The first program we'll do no matter what. We do
The
this
vigilant.
program every summer where we hire seasonal staff to visit these sites, so we'll definitely do that. The second program, because this is something new that we're proposing, not new, there was money that was used from NRD funding a while back, 2011, to pay for NCON overtime, and people really supported that. So kind of trying to replicate that at a smaller scale. But we'll have to talk to DEP how that might work if not all the towns want to fund that.
Gotcha.
And then after this money is gone, you'll have to look for other funding, for example, to maintain the patrols and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, the RIO program we fund every year from utility company support, First Light, Eversource. It is a lot of First Light, Eversource sites that these crews visit. They've been generous each year. We've gotten community foundation funding each year. Towns, the Housatonic River Commission has chipped in the past. So ideally, we would find some more long-term funding. Maybe if Wild and Scenic passes, that would be a source. But yeah, we kind of go after stuff every year for this. And the NCON partnership, that's more trying it this summer. And then if it seems to be a success, figuring out if that can be funded in the future.
So this is for our to think about, right? Both.
For next meeting.
Right. Great programs, though, Lindsay. Yeah, really.
Thanks.
True.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Perseverance.
And that's assistance we talked about, Abby, for wheelchairs.
Yes, right. And that
crutches.
was 25,000.
Right.
We had that in that list. Okay.
And then now to farmland assistance.
Well, I think that's something that, as I said, I would, rather than look at the number that was brought up tonight, I think that there's a lot of, we have a lot of people who could give us some input. Sullivan Farm is one. Many of the things that were mentioned are already done through Sullivan Farm Agroeducation. I happened to be involved in that part of it years ago when we started the Friends of Sullivan Farm. It's still going on. Mark Mankin is, I can't even say he's experienced at it. He's probably written a couple of books or could about it. But we have some other farms that I would like to hear from as far as determining, not so much the validity of things, but just, are we looking at it as a farmer who farms for a living would be looking at it. We have Maple Bank, there's Kimberly Farm, as I said, there's Fort Hill with Paul Busaglia. So I think I would just like to have a little more info from people.
Okay.
Pete?
Joe?
Couple things. My math gets me down to 181,000, but it's late. And lawyers are lawyers because they couldn't do math. But that's all we have left is 180 out of 7 million. I got to tell you, my level of frustration. But I got only elected in November. That's just how this money's been just doled out. Organic farming is insanely important. I think
Yes.
we,
Mr. Busaglia does that. That's why I wanted to talk to him.
Organic farming is incredibly important. I grow my own little garden. I don't use any form of Miracle Grow or anything else. It's all mulch, so I can appreciate that. And I'm sorry that we got this presentation in a public comment section. It should have been a presentation to us.
Yeah.
But
I'm kind of confused about that.
The tragic part too is this is one of 4 nights that we're, you know, we have to be here this week. Well, we'll try to be here. And there's a lot to take in, but listen, I appreciate what they're saying here. The one thing is I'd like to know how you know, the thought process before about getting the 150, and I understand perhaps we don't utilize our farmland as well as we do in this town, and I don't know what's the percentage of land that's still farmland here in New Milford, but it's still significant.
Yeah.
Of our overall.
And we've worked to protect it all these years.
Do we even know how much pesticides are used in New Milford in farming? I mean,
Well, that's why I'd like to have some information from people who have been farming for a long time and ask them. I mean, you know, you see people at the farmer's market and they sell organic things, and I know that Fort Hill is, and so I think that's what we need. I don't think we would do, no offense to what you said, Joe, but I think when we're talking about anything, we like to have as much information as possible, and I think talking to people who are farming for a livelihood, there's an important information that we could get.
Kathy, if I may just interject for a second.
Katie,
I'm sorry. I have spoken to a lot of farmers, some of which you've mentioned, and I don't want to repeat them. I promise.
I'm sorry, are we back in public comments again?
Well, actually, no, it was a presentation of one of the items on our discussion list.
Is that acceptable to you, Chris? That I speak to my application?
I weren't aware you were on the agenda.
I think I am on the agenda, right? Mayor?
So could we ask Mr. Kleppen, who gave us this letter, he's the chairman of Farmland Preservation, to come to the next meeting?
Yes, I would like to.
Talk a little bit about
Well, sure, but we have Joe here, so let's ask any questions we have of him and whatever he wants to present to us, and then we can invite
Yes,
other
I
people.
think, Joe, that, as I said, no offense to what you said, and I know you spoke to other people, but I think I'd rather hear what you say, not what you say that they say.
Okay, so, all right, so then I'll say what I'm gonna say. The proposal before you has the full support of the New Milford Farmland and Forest Preservation, barring any recommendations that they've made that I've actually edited and put into this application based upon their recommendations. The New Milford Senior Center, the New Milford Social Services, members of the National Resource Conservation Service, members of the United States Department of Agriculture, members of the Connecticut Department of Agriculture, the lead agricultural scientist for forestry and agriculture for the state of Connecticut Agricultural Experiment Station, just to name a few there, and then countless farmers and residents in the community. And so several of the recommendations that are contained excuse me, in the application are recommendations from our local farming community, many of which are organic farmers. So I
Joe,
appreciate...
can I just ask you a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
You just stated, as you did earlier, that this letter from Mr. Kleppen and the Farmers Preservation, it does not say that it supports what you're saying. They said that they are very supportive of using available funds to assist our farmers. However, we would recommend that prior to distributing any of these funds, that clear parameters and guidelines. In addition, any request would need to be vetted by a committee as authorized by the council. Specific to what you said, they just talk about how they, the Farmland Preservation, have held educational forums. I think that regenerative agriculture and stuff like that, that's part of why I'm saying is that I would like to have, you know, I think it's saying everybody is in favor of mental health help for children. People are in favor of growing good food for people. But some of the things that you said, that there's, you know, we need to have a way to get healthy food to people. I know you're probably not aware of this, but, you know, I happen to work for United Way, and we have a program where I personally take care of this in this town, is that we give people who are struggling making ends meet, $40 free every month, fresh produce, strictly for produce. They can go into Stop and Shop and buy $10 a week of whatever they want. We also have a program where they can go to the farmer's market if they'd like during the summer. So there are, and we're not the only ones, I'm not saying that we are. I just think that that's why there are so many people who are pro this whole regenerative thing and organic farming, that we as a council who are elected to be here owe it to the people who put us here and to this preservation committee. They're just one group, that's all they're there for, is to get all the information and ask all the questions that we can come up with. And I appreciate what you did here, but you're one and they're gonna do their thing. Right?
So
But I think, don't
I'd
say
like
that
to
they're
make a
recommending what
that
you
we-
put, because they're not.
I just read what it says. It says the commission is very supportive of the use of any available funds to assist our farmers and would.
But that doesn't mean your particular one.
But that's all I
That's-
said, Katie. So,
yes,
you know, we go
Okay.
and like, I don't know, I really don't know what the question or the argument is here.
I don't have an argument.
All I simply did was read what they
I'd like to hear
wrote.
people speak for themselves rather than you telling us what they said to you.
But I didn't tell you, that's the thing, like, I
started
didn't, no, but I didn't start to do that. No, don't say that. What I did specifically was read what they wrote. The committee is very supportive of the use of available funds to assist our farmers and would urge the council to set aside these funds for that purpose. That's exactly what I said, and that's exactly what they wrote. So I encourage
Okay.
you to bring them in and ask them all the questions you want, but I just want to be, for housekeeping purposes, I don't want anybody to say that I said anything on anybody's behalf, because what I'm doing is I'm reading off of the letter in which they
Okay,
sent to you.
can we move on?
So,
No, I would like to make a motion that we set money aside for this right now, because if we don't, it's gonna be gone. We've got several other things coming up on the agenda, and the money will be gone. So if we don't set the money aside, it's not gonna happen.
Based on what? Based on what?
But we
It's on
don't
the
know
agenda.
what to base the amount on, Mary Jane. That's the whole point of wanting to have other people come in. You know, I think it
Yeah,
would.
I would like to hear, as Katie said, I agree with you, from people who make a living, they are full-time farmers in our town. What they would
you know,
like to see.
I think we need to air something. I think we need to, but let's just, for the sake of clarity's sake here, everybody keeps saying we gotta hear from real farmers. And what I want you guys to understand is for the almost 3 decades now, I've been making a living farming trees. Trees are an agricultural crop in the state of Connecticut. And so regardless if I'm farming corn, tomatoes, or trees, okay, I'm a real farmer, okay? And it just so happens that in the last couple of years I started to farm vegetables to support our community, right? But I don't know why that keeps coming up. But we need to hear from real farmers.
When I say real, Joe, what I mean are people who, that's their living, that's their livelihood.
Right, but that's my livelihood too, Mrs. Francis, right? So, you know,
I just wanted to clarify what I meant by real.
last meeting it was a gentry farmer, right? And
So
a businessman. But I'm a taxpayer in the town, I'm a farmer in the town, okay? There's no excusing that. So the only reason I'm here is to answer questions, but I just feel like every time we talk about this, there's some sort of alienation of who's a farmer and who's not. This isn't for me, this money. This isn't money that I want to tap into.
But you're not a
We've given
professional
you a lot of
farmer.
flexibility, and again, I apologize that this wasn't put on for a presentation. But we'll be here all night, and we have 4 nights here, so we have to bring this to an end. But this is only for discussion. Any decisions would be at another council meeting for several of these, veterans assistance, HVA, and a farmer's assistant. So, what I know is, as much as I support this, and I don't, nobody's got a lock on our farming here or knows all the answers, and I'd love to hear from farmland preservation also. It's the one place I wanted to go when I came to town, and not here. It's a lot of money, and it needs discussion.
Sure.
And every one of these
Absolutely
things
agree.
have gone through, some of them, discussion ad nauseum, to be honest. And I'm sorry that this whole thing came up at the tail end of this, when I'm last on the council with 181,000 left. Because I'm just floored with how we spend this money, or how we've spent some of it.
But we're not spending that 180 now.
No, we're not.
Right.
So give us an opportunity to get some more information.
Thank you.
And you know, we don't have a time limit on when we have to spend this, right? With that money's gonna be going before St. Patrick's Day.
2024.
Yeah. So we've done it at breakneck speed. So more conversation, because farming to this town is important, and nobody in this town has a lock on how farming is done.
Did Mary Jane have a motion?
Mary Jane, in the middle of all
But
this.
we're not in motion mode here. This is discussion only.
It's a discussion, yeah.
So, then I'm gonna add that the first thing in the presentation, bullet number 1, is to create an ad hoc committee to establish the procedures and how it's gonna work.
I don't know where
et
you've
cetera.
seen that. This was, you're saying
On
that's
page
what you...
6 on Joe's
Oh,
presentation.
I'm sorry, but
On Joe's presentation.
I realize what you just said,
I know
but-
there's a lot of concern about oversight, and that's very valid.
I'm not going
I mean,
to
that's the
say
first
anything
item.
about that.
Honestly.
I think, as I said, I know how I feel about it. I'm just one member of this council, but I would like to hear other farmers. And I'll stick with that. I like to hear from the people who've been doing the agro education in this town for years, and I'd like to hear from the organic farmers that we have, and then make my own informed decision from there. And it could be exactly what Joe wrote here. I don't know, but I'd like to hear them.
And I'd like to point out, not all of us, that was just a hard copy proposal sent out, because I don't think all of us have seen it.
It got sent by email.
It's not a research paper, Chris. You didn't list that much. I mean, this is not a research paper.
Well, it's a
I'll-
presentation.
let's-
It's a
not-
presentation.
Let's
But
not
based
get
on what?
insulting here.
YouTube,
It was
site
emailed
drawing.
to all of us.
No. If you come, I'm not listening to this again. If I get a research paper, I'm all for this. This is not a research paper.
So we don't get research papers on the $7 million we spent.
I just expressed my opinion.
But Joe, you,
You voted on all these things.
yeah, we did. Right, we voted on
All
it.
right.
So
Actually,
these
I've
are
been
not,
thinking
these
about
are
it.
for discussion. There isn't any more money being spent tonight, right? These last three things are here for the future meeting.
And I'll just remind the council before I go, that it was only a few town council meetings ago that I think the town paid for an expert to come in and talk about the future of our town. And one of the very most important things that I think that he said was that the biotech industry is probably one of the biggest and fastest growing industries, and probably one of our biggest things to look out for coming down the pike as far as development is concerned, right? So regenerative agriculture fits right into that model, you know, and the educational component and then supporting those farmers is in fact biotech, right? So, you know, I just want to remind you of that, because that came up at a couple of town council meetings. So
We gotta round this up, my friend. I need to get out of here.
I'm gonna step down here and
Thank you,
y'all
Joe.
talk.
I think it's a great idea, and it's going to be continued. The conversation's to be continued.
Yes.
Let's get to the Bee City.
So item 10D, I'd like to move to approve the formation of the temporary Bee City Committee for a 6-month term.
And this we approved last meeting, so we're beginning to get residents that are very interested. So this is the first number of people that want to be in the Bee City.
And more people could be added. So the term for this temporary committee is February 28th, 2022 to August 27th, 2022. That was the typo that I suggested at the beginning. And-
I second.
And the people are Jean Tremont, Nicholas Pooter, Timothy Clark, and Ann Stone.
And Ann Stone, we just added, she is
Yes,
president of the
I-
garden club.
Right.
Second.
It got seconded.
Do we have a second?
I seconded.
Oh, thank you.
Do we get a chance to hear from these folks? Like, how regularly do we?
This is going to be like once a quarter.
Yeah.
So we definitely can ask for an
I-
update, absolutely.
Yeah.
Most committees do come in. So we have a second? Anybody?
Any discussion?
did.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay. Mayor?
Okay. I'll be very brief. Real quick, Joe. I'll be brief. COVID numbers that we talk about each and every meeting, as far as the numbers have fallen dramatically here in New Milford. These numbers are in totality, not how many currently have COVID. State of Connecticut's at 648,087. Litchfield County is at 27,031, which is up 30 from Friday. Hospitalizations for the entire county, I'm pleased to report, are down to 2 now for the entire county. New Milford is at 4,776, which is up 2 from Friday. The good news is, with the data release last week, New Milford has moved from the red category to the yellow category. That's 2 drops, which is 9.1 cases per 100,000. Vaccine statistics since February 24th, with its 7 to 10 day look back. First doses are at 22,576, which equals 84.22% of the population has had at least 1 dose. Fully vaccinated is at 20,582, which is 76.78%. If you'd like to, we still continue on Wednesdays to have our vaccine clinic at Pettibone. You can go to our website, www.newmilford.org, in the red banner, and click to register either for your first dose, second dose, booster, or for those that are immune compromised, so choose a 4th dose. COVID testing, we continue to still have the PCR testing at Pettibone. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
What's the date, the time of the PCR? I'm sorry, Mary, you said it so fast.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Saturday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
9 a.m. to 7
Yep.
p.m.?
And you can go to www.milford.org to register for that
I
as
did
well.
see that form, I just didn't know what time it was. Thank you.
Also, quick updates from New Milford Public Schools. Superintendent DeCorpo had pushed out the mask requirements have now been for buses today. That was pushed back, so today kids could choose to wear a mask or not, because the federal government through CDC made that change over the weekend. Tomorrow being March 1st, masks will be optional in New Milford Public Schools, according to Superintendent DeCorpo. Also want to congratulate Evan Linder, as he was our Connecticut State Open Tournament champion for wrestling. Also want to congratulate the wrestling team for finishing 4th overall in the Connecticut State L Division. Evan Linder took 1st place in that as well. Max Peel and Alex Olber took 2nd place. Timon Liam, Braden Olmstead, Angelo Fernandez all took 4th place finishes. So great job to the wrestling team. Also want to thank New Milford High School Band Director David Sizdick, the Band Parents Organization, the volunteers for the Winter Percussion Guard Show that they had. And I want to thank them for allowing me to present the trophies to the winning guards. And our percussion team did a great, outstanding exhibition performance. Also want to thank Chief Ceruto, men and women of the New Milford Police Department, as we continue with our speeding program. And just real quick, from October 25th to February 28th, there's been 400 motor vehicle stops. And in those major areas was Route 7, Aspetuck Ridge, Grove Street, Hine Hill, South Kent Road, Heacock, Crossbrook, Kent Road up on the Gaylordsville area, Mariel Road, Kennewood Lake Road North, Upland, Youngsfield, Sullivan Road, Housatonic, Wells, Old Park, Main Street, Old Town Park, Wells Road, Town Farm, Hine Hill, Elm Street Extension, and Mill Street.
Is those places they give out tickets?
That's where they had stopped vehicles.
The whole town?
So they've been pretty active.
I guess so.
Also want to thank our New Milford Economic Development Corporation as they awarded their latest facade improvement grant to one of our new businesses that will be opening up at 50 East Street. And that's Paige Street. Paige DeFeo, which is going to be Blue on Bank. And they're going to have charcuterie, cheeses, meats, sauces, homemade goods, and more. And she's going to be opening soon, so we're very excited about that. The town hall, we're doing our roof repair here. The contractor continues with the installation of the snow guard ice flags, installation of the main upper high roof copper panels, caulking at flash counter flashing locations with chimney counter flashing and south shelf installation. Library construction continues. We're looking for that to be completed the end of June. So we're excited about that, as we've talked about before. ESG, which is the energy partnership that we're doing with the school, where we're doing $15 million worth of capital infrastructure. That continues to be on time, and I'll continue to provide a more thorough update when I have my update with them next week, so it'll be at our next town council meeting. That's what I got.
Can I ask a quick vaccine question?
Absolutely.
Are they busy all the time like they were before? Or is
No.
not at all?
No.
So is there a shelf life on the, how does that work?
Yeah, but they wouldn't go
And what-
beyond it.
what
That's why
happens
we
is-
have
No,
the
I know
freezer.
they wouldn't, but do they
What
actually
happens is
have?
Lisa orders to kind of what they think is the amount that they'll get. So they've slowly been dwindling it
Oh.
down. So they only have a certain amount, which would be, you know, before we used to have a full freezer. Now we don't
Right.
have that much anymore.
Good night, Jen. Good night, gentlemen.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.